live. This is what we're doing now. Also, I saw that somebody followed me named Paimon Strawberry Cow. I love you. I don't know who you are, but I love you, and I want you to know that. Anyways, hi, Beau.
Hi. Sorry, I just asked Core, like, when do I come in? When do I say hi?
Right
You're like,
now.
oh, we'll just wing it. And then you literally just said hi to me. And I was like, oh, that's me. Hi, everyone. How are we all? I'm so excited. Because another thing as well, another reason I'm, like, really excited to be here and I'm very grateful to you and stuff like that is we've known each other for, like, a while now and stuff. And, like, but the thing is, like, every time I've, like, kind of ever seen you or done anything with you socially, it's always, like, been in some kind of like group situation, and I think this legit might be the first time we've ever
actually like hung out
hung out one-on-one. Yeah, so
I mean, with a huge audience, but one-on-one.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Well, and also, like, I remember when you, like, first even came to America, and I was like, oh, look at him. He's a cute little voice actor trying to get into the industry, and now you're here. Look at you. You're so good. I also was really excited when they said that you were in the game. When they told me, I was like, oh my god, yes, we're in a game together. It's just so much fun when you actually get to be in stuff with your friends.
I know there's so many great people in this who I just love, like people who I've like respected for years, or people who I've been friends with for years, or people who I've been friends with since I've come out here and stuff. And I just love that that I get to be in this project with so many amazing people. Even like Aiden the other day. Like,
Aiden just announced.
Aiden was one of the first people who I kind of met and became friends with out here. And you know, he sort of messaged me the other day, and he was like, "We're in a game together," and I was like, "Oh crud! Like we haven't been in a game together yet." Like it was really weird. Like we've seen each other so much. We've sort of been in loads of different projects that kind of have a lot of different people in, but just never one together. And I love that this one has like so many people who I love in it with me. So yeah.
Yeah. Great. All right. Yeah, we're gonna I have not played through any of this hangout yet, so I'm also really excited for that because I'm like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? I also I really know nothing. Oh wait, what? I have to update? What do I have to update? I updated a few days ago. There's another one? Why? Oh, well, at least it's going fast.
I was gonna say that's like.
Oh,
really
they
fast.
updated the teapot of it. Okay. Well, good thing is that it's going fast. And there was like 3 updates for you. Oh no. Hi everybody. So I know that you have you played the game yet at all?
No, that I will just give that disclaimer for anyone who sort of doesn't know or anything. Yeah, I have not played the game because I don't have anything that I can play it on, and I've been holding out for that Switch version. That there is going to be a Switch.
I
version.
mean, they said there was going to be a Switch version,
and it would be good because like
it would be nice if it happened.
Yeah, it'd be amazing because it's just like so many like the Switch has done so well, and like so many things have come.
Oh my god, I love my Switch.
Even look at like last week, you know, I was playing Among Us on the Switch. I got the Switch version for it, and like, oh my gosh, that was like
so much fun.
Like, last week was so much fun, and then playing it on the Switch was like great as well. Like it was so much better than playing it on the iPad.
Yeah,
100%. The one thing they said about the Switch, like I did check out like a review or two just to make sure it was like worth it. But the one thing they said is like, oh, if you do like type chatting, it's like not great. Like if you're on Discord, it's great, but if like unless you're not on Discord, that's the only like downside kind of thing. And I was like, we're on Discord. This is great. And yeah, so playing it on a Switch is great. But oh man, last week was so much fun. And then so it's great that I get to hang out with you again 2 Saturdays in a row.
Hey-o! Yee. Also, like, yeah, I've been playing Pokemon Snap nonstop.
Oh, yeah, great.
It's so good. It's everything I wanted in a remake. I could put googly eyes on every Pokemon.
I loved your Apom.
And my god, it's the funniest. Like I like it, especially because there's of course a oh god, what's the bunny again Pokemon?
Score Bunny? Or?
Score Bunny, thank you. I don't know why I forgot it. I picked it when I had Sword, or well, I still have Sword, but the score bunny, I was like, oh my god, look at the happy little Casey. Thank you for the subscription. Yeah, like, because, you know, Casey voices Score Bunny in the show, and so I was like, oh my god, and then I put googly eyes on it, and I was like, oh my god, now the Score Bunny really is Casey. And it's so funny, and I love it. I just love it so much. It's everything that I wanted in a remake for Pokemon Snap.
Yeah, no, totally. One of the things I love just from like looking at the footage and stuff is just kind of like there's like more interaction with the Pokemon. Like the first game was really good for that stuff.
Oh,
obviously
yeah.
there's limitations. You couldn't have had something like a Score Bunny sleeping on a Torterra, you know,
Yeah.
like and that kind of thing is really cool.
Mm-hmm. Or even like the Grookey with the Pichu and the Score Bunny, and the Pichu and the Grookey are like joking around or whatever, and the Score Bunny is laughing and it has the cutest little laughs. Oh, I'm just dead. I'm dead. And then also, look, I don't really use Quagsire that much, but this game has reminded me that I clearly need to use Quagsire more because his dumb face is the cutest thing on the planet. And I can't. I just can't. I love, and then you put googly eyes on him, and then it's just hilarious. I put googly eyes and mustaches on every single fucking Pokemon. And it's so dumb. It's the dumbest thing. And yet me and Eddie every time are just like, it's funny. And it's the same thing I do with everyone. I don't do anything else. I just put googly eyes and then a mustache, and it's just stupid.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
All right, let's get into this. Hopefully, the game is not extraordinarily loud. It probably is, though, knowing me.
But yeah, so do forgive me if there is like knowledge I'm lacking on this game just from my not playing it, because I want to and I will, but it may still be a while until I do.
Yeah.
But I do know about this quest because
you were in it. So this is the one thing that I don't know anything about, because funny enough, for once, Paimon doesn't have any lines in it. And the only reason why I know that is because when we were recording all the hangout quests, they were like, oh yeah, the Chongyun one. And then they were like, oh wait, Paimon doesn't have any lines in the Chongyun one. And I go, wait, what? I don't have any lines? I want lines. I want lines with Chongyun. Why? Yeah. You know. It's okay. We'll get lines in the future together. I know it.
Yeah, no, we will. We totally will.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they'll. Again, this game has been so amazing and doing so well, and people love it so much. They're gonna. I'm sure they'll be making content for a long time, and our paths will cross in the game. Oh, hey, you.
Me. Also, I got pancakes from Duluth. Oh wait, are those pancakes? Or are they tortillas? Hold on. They look like omelets? Once upon a time in Mondstadt is... Oh, wait, hold on. It looks like it's French toast with stuff on top. Or maybe just toast with garlic and butter on top? Huh. Also, I'm now hungry. Eddie, what do you want for dinner? Where did he go? Oh, no, he left. Well, he has to order me dinner soon. Yeah. Alright, we got that. Now, we gotta go into here. And then I have to unlock the quest, which I do have a key for it. Let's get over here. What?
What?
What? I should have 2 keys. When did I get rid of the keys? Oh my god. Complete 8 daily commissions to receive a key. Are you kidding me? What? No, I have... Wait, hold on. 1 out of 3. Wait, what? I'm confused. Hold on. I need 2, and I have 1. 8 daily commissions to receive a key is what you do? Well, this might be a really short stream.
Oh.
No! I thought I did this, though. on. Where did all my keys go? I only used 2 the other day.
Did you not? Yeah, but you need 2 for each hangout. Did you just use it on Zhongli's quest the other day?
No, I didn't do Zhongli's quest. I only opened up Barbara's.
Yeah, but you can only hold up to 3 keys. So
Right.
You still need 1 more key.
Okay. Fuck. What? That's bullshit.
You might be, if you do today's commission, it might give you enough.
No, it won't, because I need 8 and there's only 4.
You might be fucked.
I might be super fucked right now, Beau.
Oh no.
No! Okay, it's fine. What we're gonna turn this into is that we're gonna turn this into a Ask Beau Questions stream. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, no, I don't mind.
Okay, so this is...
Um,
I'm so sorry, Beau. We'll reschedule to do the Chongyun quest when I'm not such a fucking failure.
Oh, it's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine.
Okay, so while I'm doing daily commissions, so I can hopefully get another key, but I probably won't. Beau, I have a question. What got you into voice acting?
Good question.
Oh, it's on right there.
So for me, it's kind of a twofold thing, really, with just kind of my interest and desire to do voiceover. The first is just like I absolutely love it, and I'm nutty about it. But that kind of stems from just I always loved like cartoons and Nintendo when I was growing up, so I always just loved those 2 things, and I was just nuts about them. And I think I've just always been a bit more like a listen-y person or whatever. Like I always just loved the voices in cartoons and stuff, and it was always kind of like the way that lines were delivered and stuff like that would stick with me. So that's kind of the first thing. And then the other thing about it actually is just, again, like those cartoons and Nintendo games and everything, they really just sort of brought this like, they just brought me like such joy and happiness and comfort. And I just kind of, and I feel like I learned a lot from them and everything. And it's kind of, I just have this strong desire to kind of do that for other people, you know, to kind of bring that kind of joy and comfort and those long-lasting, good warm memories that you will hold on to. Do you know what I mean? Like, you probably just have like random things from like cartoons and games and stuff that you just hold in your head forever that just make you smile. And I kind of want to do that with, you know, other people and stuff like that. I just, you know, sort of if I can be in things, and again, that's why like this game has been amazing and stuff like that. This is kind of, I would say, my first really big thing that I've had. And you know, like in the past couple of months, I've just had so many like lovely tweets and stuff like that where I can really see that kind of Chongyun is really like connected with people and people love him and they like my performance for him, and everyone's just been so sweet and nice, and it's just been really nice kind of knowing like, oh wow, that thing you kind of set out to do to kind of like, you know, kind of be a positive force with your work kind of thing, like it's happened, at least with this one, you know. So yeah, so that's kind of like sort of the like how I had that interest in voiceover and stuff. If you're meaning the more kind of like, okay, yeah, but how did a guy from England in a small town in the countryside in the middle of nowhere in England like come to America and be in Genshin Impact? That's a much more loaded question, which I'm happy to answer.
Wait, we have the time for it because I'm a dumbass. So
so yeah, I mean, so I'm happy to answer that too. But that's sort of the base answer to the just kind of like, well, what got you kind of interested in stuff? You know, what kind of, I guess, what was kind of like the ignition, and then what did you kind of do with that ignition? Is then the kind of follow up thing.
Yeah.
So yeah. Basically, it was like when I was like a kid, I watched the inside the actor's studio with the cast of The Simpsons, because I love The Simpsons, and so that came on, and I watched that, and that was when I kind of like learned what voice acting is, and I just thought it sounded like a really cool thing to do. It didn't like that day become like the thing I had to do with my life, but I was like, well, that'd be a cool thing to do. Like that looks fun. But it was only like years later when I kind of had this epiphany that I was like, wait a minute, why? Maybe I could like look into what it actually takes to do that. And
so you took the initiative, basically.
I mean, yeah, and because like again, when I watched the Inside the Actors Studio thing, the reason why, you know, like the internet was still like dial-up when I watched that.
Yeah.
And you know, and we didn't like, you know, the internet was like a thing you'd go on as a treat for like 10 minutes at a time, once a week or something like that, you know.
And you couldn't stay on there if your parents wanted to make a phone call.
Exactly, right, exactly. And my mum's like friends with everyone and like talks on the phone to everyone all the time. So yeah, like, you know, the internet didn't really happen much, but sort of a few years later, and it was like a few months before I was due to go to university. I was kind of we, you know, like broadband internet was a thing, and like accessing information was a much more easier thing to do. And so I was kind of like, well, hang on, why, you know, like again, so the only reason I was kind of able to find out like what voice acting kind of was and what it was like was because of a TV show. But now you had like the world at a keyboard, you know. So I was like, well, why don't I like look into this a bit and stuff? Because the other thing as well is sort of my wanting to do it. It's in terms of like my goals and what I want from this and stuff like that. An easy, quick way to put it is like, I want to be Rob Paulson. You know, I love, like, he's one of my heroes, and if I like had a career like his, you know, that'd be like a dream come true.
Right.
Because I loved the Ninja Turtles growing up, and he's just been in like so many things that I love. Like for my whole life. And so, you know, if I could be but I kind of realized very quickly once I had that epiphany about like the kind of like, well, hang on, why couldn't I do this? Or why don't I look into what it actually takes to do this thing? Because that would be a really cool thing to do with my life. And so, and very quickly, it wasn't just about like doing this. It was like, well, to be a Rob Paulson, you got to be where Rob Paulson is, and that's like in America. And I kind of thought about the kinds of projects that I want to be in.
I keep telling people all the time, like, don't get me wrong, there is some sort of a market in like every country for that. But if you specifically want to be in the stuff that is like American cartoons, like Rob Paulson, you kind of gotta be in LA for that. There's not really a way around it. And honestly, this pandemic is proving that there really is no way around it. You need to be here. It sucks recording from home. I hate it.
That's the thing. It is kind of like, yeah, it can't. Like, this pandemic will change like a few things. Like, there'll be like more pickup sessions done at home.
Right.
You know, like oh, you got like 2 lines. Okay, well then let's just hop on Source Connect and do it. You know, like that'll totally be a thing now.
Right.
But they're not going to be like, oh, hey, let's do a
4-hour session. No, that's.
Yeah, you know, so yeah, exactly.
With how many times I've disconnected from Source Connect? No.
And again, Eddie can say as well, from the engineer's point of view, having
every
that control of like everyone in
not to mention everybody
the same
has a
environment.
Yeah. I think that's what people also don't understand is that the little different. It takes so much work right now. Eddie is working so much more than he did before, and it's because he has to spend 4 times as much longer trying to make everybody sound like they're on the same microphone, trying to make everybody sound like they're in the same room together, trying to make everybody sound like they have the same equipment. All of that is so fucking hard. Not to mention, he wants to be in control of the gain knob again. He wants that.
Yeah,
because actors suck at it, and I know that because we should not have to be in control of that.
No,
our concentration should be on the acting, and that's it. And then the sound engineer can take over and do everything else. It really sucks when I do a scream and I like because you're in the moment, and then all of a sudden the sound engineer's like, "So we have to do that again," and I'm like, "Fuck, I forgot."
I've had a number of sessions where basically my gain has been too high, and I know it. Like they haven't kind of clocked on it, but like I kind of know that it's going to clip, or that it's so close to clipping that it needs to go down a tad.
But it takes away from my performance.
But I'm too polite to kind of say it, because it's kind of like, well, you know, I don't want to like say to an engineer like, hey, can I turn it down, you know, or something like that. You know, so I've kind of like not said it. But then they'll kind of say about my performance, and it's like, yeah, sorry, it's because my eyes are just looking at this line. This line's gonna do bad things if I can't turn this gain down. And then I turn the gain down, and then my performances improve a gazillion times because I'm not thinking about engineering. I'm not thinking about having to do it again.
It would be nice if I didn't have to think about that. That would be great.
You know. So again, this there'll be people who think that there'll be people on the outside who
Damn it! No, see, that's what I
Oh.
meant. It says 4 out of 8, and I'm like, cool. Damn it! I should have looked at this yesterday, but I didn't because I was taking a break. Fuck. Okay. Well, anyways, keep going.
No, it's okay. We'll figure out dates and stuff like that.
We'll figure it out. We'll do it again. I promise, guys.
But yeah, to sort of again, like there'll be people like on the outside who will kind of hear that people have been recording from home for a year and stuff, and like, oh, this project was recorded from home, and they'll think that this pandemic shows that it can, like, it will show that we can do this from home.
We
but
don't
we
want
shouldn't.
to. We
Like,
should not.
again,
Just because we can doesn't mean we should.
You should, exactly. To paraphrase Jurassic Park, like just because you can doesn't mean you should. Like,
and I mean, like,
so,
like it's really funny because not even Eddie, just a lot of sound engineers have had to give the bad news to a lot of actors out there saying, guys, your setup is not good. We're gonna have to recast. That's been said so many times, and I'm sorry, not ever. Like, guys, just picture this for a minute. My booth back there, that's $12,000. Do you got $12,000 to spend on a booth at home?
Yeah, and that's like,
and
there's
that's
some
not
people
even my booth. That's my roommate. She's just been nice enough to let me use it.
Yeah, and the thing as well is that even if you can afford that, there are some people who can afford it, but they live in a place where they can't have it because they're like upper floor or something like that. And it's like, oh, you're not allowed to have something that weighs 1,000 pounds.
Right. Not to mention, also, even with that $12,000 booth, if my neighbors decide to do any sort of gardening, I'm fucked.
Yeah, and exactly.
I can't go out there and be like, can you just stop like the whole day? I have recordings all day. I can't do that.
There are like a cajillion and one things that can stop us from doing this, and basically if you have listened to anything that has been recorded at home in the last year, like, it is a miracle. Like, just anything, like whether it's this game, whether it's the cartoon you like, an anime you like, whatever it is, like just anything. Because again, like I'm in a booth right now because my roommate has a booth and it's great, but like we've had days where there's been like construction and things like that, and it's been a problem, and it's been and it's like there are so many the whole recording at home thing. There's so many obstacles. Now again, like if it might change things like pickups, it might change things like quick commercial sessions and whatever else, but things like cartoons and games, it's not gonna like, oh, everyone's gonna do everything from home now. It's like, no, they're gonna bring it back in studio.
And also, I don't think anything can replace the actual like, there's an energy that you get that when you step in the studio and you get to actually like work with the people that you're with.
Right, yeah, even that.
And also, mocap. Guys, mocap has to be done in a studio with everybody there. There's no way around that. It's there's so many things on like why, it's you still need to be in LA. It's not going to change that much, not drastically.
So, and actually that's a nice segue to actually get back into like the story without going too much about like the technical specifications of like voiceover recording.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I understood immediately. Like, again, because basically I was like on the bus going to school like a few months before I then like went to university, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was with a friend, and it was kind of like almost like immediately when I was like, maybe I could do this. It was kind of like I was like, I'd have to look into like, what I'd have to do to like get to America to do this. It was never like I never like considered really doing it in England, because England does have animation, but it's a very different thing. It's very limited.
There's a reason why a lot of the actors that are British and or Australian live in America.
So, but that was an interesting thing as well, because as much as there are like British people who do VO, to my knowledge, and again, forgive me if I'm wrong, just I will just hold my hand up if I'm wrong here, but to my knowledge, I don't think that there was anyone who kind of, because again, a lot of people who do VO, and this is like less of a thing now, But the people who I grew up listening to, a lot of them wanted to be like on camera actors. They wanted to be in movies and TV, and then they sort of kind of fell into VO, and then they like fell in love with it, and they're like, oh, this is way better. I'm doing this. And so, you know, I say that because when I don't want to say they fell into it and they just begrudgingly do cartoons now. No, they kind of were like, oh my god, I've stumbled into like the best thing ever, and like, why aren't more people doing this?
Why didn't I do this before?
Like, yeah, why didn't I do this before?
Well, fuck on-camera acting. Why would I do that?
Like, Rob Paulsen actually had a good story, actually. This is, like, back in, like, the 80s or something. And he had, like, a Smurf... Like, there's one morning where he had, like, a Smurf session in the morning and, like, a G.I. Joe afternoon. And his agent called him, or his on-camera agent called him. I was like, oh, hey, there's, like, a audition for, like, a on-camera commercial. Can you do it? And it was during, you know, this day where he had the 2 sessions. And he kind of looked at his like schedule and he's like, I've got this really fun gig in the morning that's amazing, and this really fun, amazing gig in the afternoon. And it's like I'd have to sacrifice those to have like an opportunity to do an on-camera thing. Not even like an on-camera thing. And he was like, no, I'm good. I'm gonna do my sessions where, like, you know, birds in the hand.
Where I'm actually gonna get paid.
Where I'm going to get paid, and it's like, and those 2 sessions are going to be way more fun than an on-camera commercial audition.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was kind of like his moment where I think he was kind of like, I really have something special here, you know, and that's kind of when he, you know, so, but anyway, so but with like the English, like the British and the Australian thing and stuff like that. So there are people who do those things, but they'll kind of usually, to my knowledge, people who do VO who are like British and Australian and other things, they'll often be like on-camera actors and stuff, or maybe even they'll have like married someone or have like married an American person and then got something like that. But I didn't really know a story of anyone who like they wanted to do voiceover, like they say just do voiceover, they want to do cartoons and stuff like that, and they wanted to come here and do it, and then they are here and do it. And I didn't really know anyone like that. Again, like Bob Bergen has a good story. Bob Bergen, who's Porky Pig, he like when he was like 14 years old, he phoned up Mel Blanc, who was the voice of like all the original Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
And because he wanted to be Porky Pig himself someday, and you know now he is. It's a great story. But like again, I didn't really know any stories of anyone like that. Because there are people who, you know, who like Bob, who were doing this, who wanted to do it. But like, I didn't really know anyone who was like English who'd like be like, I want to go to America and do cartoons. So it was a very weird sort of dream to have because there was no real guideline for it. I kind of had to figure it out myself.
Yeah.
So, but it's cool because I'm not trying to lay some claim that I'm the first person who's done that, because maybe I'm not. I don't know. But maybe I am. So I don't know. But it was a weird thing to kind of go through. But anyway, so I had this like epiphany and everything. And it was like just before I went to university. And I still went to university to get my degree in mathematics. But I did it. But during that, I kind of learned about VO on the side. And I was like emailing voice actors and listening to podcasts and reading books and looking up on the internet and everything. Just kind of soaking up what I can. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I've sort of been doing some of these streams more lately and stuff like that, because again, I've kind of realized how big this game is.
Yeah.
And how much people love it, and how much people love the people behind it, and how they want to get to know those people. And when I started out and I was kind of looking up voice actors and stuff, there were some people who they just didn't really have much of an online presence. There wasn't much out there about them. I'll give a really good example. Someone who I believe Cora's got to work with in that really fun pilot you showed us. But like Fred Tattershaw.
Yeah.
When I was getting started out, he was just like a name in credits. And I was like, who is this guy? I want to learn more about him. And there were like no YouTube videos about him, like no website, no nothing. He was kind of just, he was a guy who like had worked in a bunch of things, but he wasn't really out there much. But then he like appeared on like Rob Paulsen's podcast, and I think he's been on VO Buzz Weekly, but he's just been on like other things, and they're like behind the scenes interviews of like him doing the Hulk, and it's so great to watch. And it's like, and I love that stuff. And it's kind of like, well, there might be people who want that stuff for me, as weird as that sounds. Like, but you know, there were some people who they just didn't really have much presence out there, and it's nice for people to be able to go out there and see who these people are behind their voices and stuff. So
Yeah.
again, thank you. So thank you for giving me this really opportunity
Of
to come here and be
course.
here and everything.
So I got another question because, like, you know, like you're a British person who's in America, so a lot of the stuff you do, you have to sound American. Where did you learn your American accent?
I've kind of just been able to do it forever, really. And because I saw, again, for anyone who saw my stream with Zach, sorry if I do kind of almost like word the same answer here, but because he asked kind of like the same thing. But that's the thing, I've kind of been able to do it forever because in the UK, you are like bombarded by like American culture kind of thing. Because like America, again, this is the reason I wanted to come to America. America is the place that has Hollywood and movies and TV shows and stuff.
Right.
And what comes with that is that stuff will get exported to England. So, you know, growing up, you know, like, yeah, there's a bunch of like original British television, but there's so much American and like cinema is like English language cinema is like mostly American cinema. So like movies and TV shows, like movies and TV shows and stuff, most of them are American. So you're kind of just like bombarded by, you know, like American accents from a very young age. You kind of understand what they are. And again, as I said, I'm kind of like a bit of a more of like a heary, listening-y person than like say like a visual person or anything. So I kind of, and I always just loved the voices in cartoons and stuff, and I always liked being able to kind of try and replicate them. So I've kind of always just been able to do American for a long time. There's not any one kind of say like cartoon character who I would impersonate or anything like that. It's like, no, it's kind of just a thing I can do. And there are a lot of like British people who they're not actors or performers or anything. They can just do American accents because again, they're just bombarded by the accent. And it's kind of why I don't blame Americans for kind of having difficulty with English accents and UK accents and stuff.
I don't think they grew up with it enough to really
Yeah,
have
exactly.
a
They
good
don't.
understanding. I mean, like, because I like it's sad because I've always been told I do a really good British accent, but because there's a lot of people who think they can do British accents and then put that on their resume, and then they go into the audition like, "Oi, it's me, I'm British," and I'm like, "Oh my god, this is why I can't do one because you exist."
Right.
Yeah.
And if you do a really good one, again, I'm sorry that you did that because again, it's just a hard, weird thing. Again, I don't blame anyone for not being able to do one and stuff because again, it's just that thing where, well, the thing about the UK is that it has so many.
It has so many. I think that's also like a difference because even though the United States is technically bigger, we do not have as many accents as the UK.
They don't, yeah. And
we just don't.
And when people go, oh, well, this accent's different from this one, it's like, okay, but it's more the differences are more nuanced.
Versus I go literally an hour away from London. It's a completely different fucking language.
Yeah, it is. It is. Like Manchester and Liverpool are like only like
right next to each other. Sounds like they're from two different countries,
but they're different. Like, and so you know, and then like there's like Newcastle is really close to Scotland, but Newcastle is different from Scotland, and you know, so there are all these accents and all this stuff, and I think basically just Americans don't get kind of submerged in, you know, sort of like the British accents enough to really be able to sort of take them in and know what they are, because that's the thing, it's people not knowing what they are, so they kind of take this like vague generalized stab in the dark, and that's kind of the issue.
Yeah. Well, because I always tell like any of my students, like any of them that say I can do a British accent. Okay, where? What do you mean? Where in England is your British accent from? It's just a standard Nope, you can't do a British accent then. Stop saying you can do one.
A really funny thing as well, and it's even the phrase British accent as well actually really grinds my gears.
Because in Britain, that's not how you say it. You say, oh no, I have a North London accent. I have a South London accent. I have a Manchester accent.
Even then you just say like an English accent.
Yeah.
Like that's the weird thing. Like people there's a weird thing here where it's like, they'll say Scottish people have a Scottish accent, or Welsh people have a Welsh accent, but then it's like, oh, what accent do English people have? Oh, British. It's like,
no, English.
well, like,
because
yeah,
technically
I mean, yeah,
Britain includes
like,
Wales and Scotland, so
yeah, like so the only time I really use British accent is if I'm kind of if I'm kind of generalizing the accent. Sometimes you might listen
right.
to someone and I know they're from the UK, but I might not know where, and I'll be like, oh, they have like some kind of British accent. But again, they could be like, they could be like so north of England that they're kind of close to Scotland, or they could, like, so that's the only time I really sort of used the phrase British accent a lot. But yeah, so anyways, so that's kind of how I do American, and then it is something I've practiced and kind of worked on as well. And I do kind of like look at like internet articles, like new, I like go on the articles out loud in American and stuff, and I still do that kind of thing. But yeah, again, like, yeah, a lot of the stuff I do in auditions I have to send out are like American. Like I think if I had a more mature sounding voice, I could maybe just do English. But young in English is like a double-edged sword, because it's a nice rare thing. Like, I'm a nice novelty. If there is like a young English accented Prince character, then like I have a really good chance of getting it actually sound young. And well, I am young and I sound young, compared to like, say, like say some of like the 40-year-old, like, say, like British actors who are out here who have to kind of do a bit of a voice to kind of sound younger, kind of thing. Whereas like this is just me. So in that sense it's good, but obviously there's not a whole load of like young English stuff. Like, they probably do want a little bit more age. Like, there'll probably be more opportunities for me once my voice does sound a bit older, like, sort of
You'll
thing.
grow
Like, in
up
terms of
one
English
day,
stuff.
just
I'll
like
grow
me.
up, yeah. But yeah, so yeah, like, so yeah, but so I've kind of been out. But again, there's just all kinds of, and again, I do notice like the differences. Like, I'm not always. The thing is, I'll often be able to like hear the differences between accents, but I may or may not always be able to do those accents, kind of thing. But I do have the ear to like recognize the differences as well, which I think is something that helps. Like, I definitely have the ear for kind of listening to these things. But even like a fascinating thing about accents as well is that it's not even just about say like, oh, this vowel sound sounds like this vowel sound, like in between the two. It's even knowing like sort of like the emphasis on words, or that Americans will use different words and stuff like that. Like, I don't think people realize like how much translation I'll often kind of do, because like I'll have grown up saying something is called one thing, but in America it's got a different name.
Yeah.
That's less
like
of like
French fries.
thing, but right, yeah, French fries.
And it even comes down to like even the pronunciations of words. Like, we have privacy, controversy,
yeah, like controversy and controversy.
Aluminum, which I personally think aluminium sounds way cooler.
It does, yeah. There's, like sort of like semi-final and semi-final, stuff like that. Like, there are all these just so you kind of pick up. I know that's a little bit more, but again, it helps when you're like reading scripts if you just kind of know these things or can ask these things. Yeah, sort of. So, it's kind of like, it's not that it's a different language by any means, but it's kind of, it's almost, at times it feels like a 1.5 instead of like a second language. It feels like a 1.5 language or something. I don't know, but yeah. So but again, yeah. So I've just and again, you kind of like even. So again, like, you kind of hear, and another thing about like accents and stuff as well, and about like how the UK has different accents and how the UK's accents can be very locked into geographically where they are. And a good example of that is if you had a like British television show that was like set in the north of England, sort of thing. So, it's going to be like set in the north of England, like Sean Bean's going to be. If I was in that show with Sean Bean, like, unless I did an accent to kind of match his, you would have to explain that my character is from somewhere else. Like, you'd have to have some throwaway line, just being like, oh, he moved up from the south, or he moved, he was like from near London and he came up here, or something like that. You couldn't just put me in a show and be like, whereas like all the cast of Friends, like, oh, they supposedly all grew up in New York.
Yeah.
You know,
Just
like
somewhere in New York. It's fine.
just, you know, so like they're somewhere around here. Like they all came from somewhere around here. And but in real life, like all those different actors come from. They're not all, you know, strictly from New York. At least to my knowledge, they're not. But again, in that show, you can just say, yeah, they're like from near here somewhere, and then people just, you know, you don't have to explain it. Whereas, you know, in the UK, you kind of would. So again, like American accents just kind of are more similar. I think accents are a bit more of like a, you know, I don't know, like in the UK though, you can kind of get like it'd be very you'd be very unlikely to have people like from the north who sound like me unless they did some kind of like speech and dialect training, or or speech therapy, or they went to like a drama school or something like that.
It's really funny because like there's actually like a thing with autism where people with autism they might hear an accent once and then that will be the accent there for the rest of their lives, even though that was not the one they grew up with. So I have now a weird accent where, like, if I work with a new director, like, oh my god, I was working with Eddie and Michael Sorich, and this was the first time I was working with Michael Sorich. Right, and he goes, "Are you from the South?" And Eddie immediately starts laughing. And I go, "No, I'm from Seattle." And he's like, "Wait, what? Do you have family in the South?" "No." "Nope."
Nope. Funny.
And then the other day also, I started talking and I was upset about something, and then Eddie was like, "Why the fuck are you Irish right now?"
Yep. Oh, that's great.
So, my accent is stupid. That's what it is. It's just a like, and then the worst one though is when, like, okay, my grandma is from the Midwest. That accent comes out quite a bit, and it's the worst accent because it's just bad, and it just came out right there with bad because of course it did. Great. And I have never stepped foot in the Midwest ever. I literally picked it up only from my grandmother. May she rest in peace. You know, and so yeah, I have different times where like accents that I've picked up or listened to years ago will just come out. And then I worked with Michael Sorich again, more recently, and he was like, "Is there a Canadian accent somewhere up in Seattle?" And I'm like, "No, we're close to it, but no, it's not." No. Yeah, wrong Canadian accent. So which one? Yeah. And so, yeah, it's a thing. Also, I just want to point out, I now have dogs in my teapot, and I am very happy about it. I just needed everybody to know I have doggies, and they're cute, and I love them both. They both lay down at the same time. Okay, so now my question for you is, what was the first voice acting job that you ever got?
Good question. I think like the first thing that I did, because what happened is, like I said, I sort of went to university and I learned about voiceover on the side, and I took this very kind of like academic approach to it, where I was like, I'm gonna learn about this and get good at it, and then I'm gonna pursue work. I'm not gonna try and pursue work like as I'm learning. I'm gonna like, you know, get good enough to make a demo, and then that's when I work. I'm not gonna try. If anything had like come along where someone was like, "Oh, hey, you're like learning about voiceover, right? I have a thing I need a voice." Like, yeah, I would have done it, but I'm not gonna like chase. I wasn't gonna like chase out stuff until I had a demo, and I wasn't gonna make a demo until I was good enough to make a demo.
Which is a smart way to do it.
So, but what kind of happened was and then what happened was after university, because I can sort of say more about this later. After university, I like did a few like trips to America to kind of like take classes and network and meet people and get the lay of the land and just kind of, you know, enjoy myself like by immersing myself in the sort of VO world out here. And but what happened is after I'd done all those trips and I'd made demos and stuff, I came back, and the first gig I did actually was an audiobook for a friend of my mum's who'd written a book.
Oh.
So sorry, this is one of those things where this is gonna like provoke conversation, but just we'll hold on a minute, kind of thing. Just like we'll put a bookmark in it. But basically, my younger brother has autism, but we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
But my younger brother has autism. He's like severely kind of mentally handicapped, like the way they say autism's a spectrum and everything. Like he's kind of very much on the sort of low
nonverbal,
nonverbal, exactly, stuff like that. But because of that, so when you grow up in like a sort of disabled household like that, you kind of usually end up meeting a lot of other families with who are in disabled households and stuff, and so this was a family where they had an autistic child as well, and the mother had written a series of books about him, and I got to sort of narrate. I got to narrate the book. That was like the first thing I did, and she gave me a bit of money to do it.
That's cool.
And yeah, so she'd kind of written this book where she kind of like imagined kind of what he's kind of thinking and what experiences were like and what like some of the things she remembers. She tried to kind of imagine what was going through his head and stuff like that when they were happening. So she'd kind of written this book, and I got to kind of basically narrate as him, kind of thing. And it was nice, and it was kind of like a good fit for me because I what it was like to kind of grow up in that kind of a world. So that was like kind of the first gig I did, and then I like joined pay to play sites, and I got a bunch of gigs on those. And the first thing I got on one of those was actually as a commercial it was like Smirnoff on Spotify. It was like a cross promotional thing they did, and it like ran on Spotify in the UK, which is really neat. So that was like the first thing I got where it wasn't like my mum's friend, I guess. Yeah.
That's really cool. I did not know that about you.
Oh, well, thank you.
So
we can talk more about that at some point if you like, but I just kind of I wanted to answer like the VO thing. I was like, this is kind of a loaded thing to just throw out there. They're like, oh, I have like an autistic brother, but it's not. So, I mean, the thing is, everyone with autism is different. Like, I can't really compare you to anyone else. I could say something like you're more similar to like Kellen than my younger brother. But
I am very similar to Kellen on a lot of levels, and it's not necessarily a good thing.
But I don't know all of like your unique struggles and stuff like that, and I don't by any means, just because there are things that you can do that are nicer and sort of more quote unquote normal than my younger brother, that does not by any means mean that I think you have like a normal life or anything like that. And there are definitely things that you have described where it's like, oh, thank goodness we don't have that kind of thing. So it's a really, to use a British phrase, like swings and roundabouts, like kind of there's there's just kind of there's like good things and bad things, and those things are all just kind of weighted differently for like every single person, and it's why they use the phrase like spectrum to describe it. And even like a spectrum is like a terrible way to describe it,
even now the spectrum is less, because people always think of a linear line with spectrum, and
exactly.
I'm like, no, it's a circle.
And it's not.
It's a circle. And depending on the person that's autistic, you have different needs in different spaces, and then you have less needs in other spaces.
I mean, it's probably not even a circle. It's probably even like a sphere. Like it just a whole 3D
like
thing. Because a spectrum's just like a line or like a 0 to 10, and it's like no, it like there's just it's so different for everyone. But so but I mean, it's a fascinating. But again, when you have that sort of kind of, when you grow up in that kind of a family, like anytime there's like a documentary on the TV that like mentions it's about autism, you'll sit down and watch it, kind of thing. And so I've learned a lot about autism that is not anything to do with my younger brother, and it is a fascinating thing. I remember there was a program years ago, so this was back in England, and they sort of talked about how, well, they talked about how like boys have it more than girls, but
which is now false.
They're now showing
that that's
like,
false.
It's like girls are just better at like hiding it as well.
They're better at
And-
masking.
And yes, the masking. That was exactly what I was going to talk about. It was because I didn't really sort of know about I didn't really know about the masking, and it was fascinating to watch. And they did this thing where they got some guys to like talk to these girls or whatever, and it was really weird when they were like, there was a bit where they were talking and they were sort of saying, okay, so here are some girls who have autism, and I was like, look, I could get how that, you know, I could see that like they had autism kind of thing, but I was like, they seem pretty kind of, again, quote unquote, normal kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were talking to these guys and they had this like really sort of fairly kind of normal conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was kind of a point where I can't really remember what they did or how they showed it, but then they kind of just showed them kind of being them. And then they just kind of like were completely like the disguise was off kind of.
Right.
And they were like kind of really kind of quirky and everything else, or like awkward or what, you know, whatever kind of. And it was just, and it was the weirdest thing. It was just like,
it's
whoa, these girls are like completely
whoa.
different now.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I think like that's the major thing with me is that like Eddie can definitely tell when something's wrong because I can't keep my mask up anymore.
Mm.
And it like it becomes like a whole other experience dealing with me. And then also there are times like I deal with also selective mutism, so I'm not mute obviously. but there will be periods of times where it's really hard for me to talk, and I can force myself to, but constructing sentences is not really an easy thing. So like when I try to talk, it comes out very much like I'm almost a caveman. Or it's very difficult for me to kind of put the words together in a full sentence or at all.
Oh wow.
And then there's also like, I mean, one of the biggest factors that my therapist said was like I'm really loud. And it's because one of the things with autism is that, like, you know, there's some people that have different sensitivities in different areas. I'm touch sensitive, but also there's people, like, there's also the opposite of that with autism, which is you are not sensitive to it at all. And for me, that's sound. So I crave sound all the time. I can't go to sleep without, like, the TV on for the sound.
Oh, okay.
Which poor Eddie. Luckily he's okay with it. But like I have a huge problem. Like there's a reason why I'm the worst in a library, because I get very anxious. Like I can't stay quiet, and it's not because I don't want to stay quiet. It's literally because like my brain is saying, you need sound. Where's the sound? Where's the sound?
Yeah, right.
And if I don't get it, I will have a breakdown. Like and so I crave sound. I also and it's not that there's anything wrong with my hearing, but because I'm hypo-hearing, I can't hear myself. So when people, like, for years, I was like, there is no way that I am louder than everybody else. I'm the same volume. And it took my therapist saying, no, you are louder than everybody else.
Right.
Here's why. And I was like, are you fucking, because I couldn't hear myself? I can't hear myself, so I'm automatically louder to make up for that fact. and it's because I'm hypo-hearing. So and then there's other autistic people where they are very sensitive to hearing. So I'm the worst person to be around for them, which is also really funny because like I think like it's really funny to me when somebody is like, oh yeah, there's this autistic person that I think you should meet, and I'm like, are they hearing sensitive? Because if that's the case, no. Like, no, right. We should never meet. And it's not to say I don't think they are probably a really great person. We just would not mesh because of that. So yeah, we would not mesh ever because I would cause them to go insane.
Yeah, that is a bit of a weird thing when just like in general when like it's cool when you sort of know different people and they kind of like have things about their personalities and interests and opinions where you look at them and you go, oh, I think that those two would get along really well. Like they've got a similar sense of humor or they like the same thing. And, you know, those kind of things are fine. But it is weird when people are things like sort of like, oh, like, there's another autistic person, you should meet them, or like,
and
oh,
I'm like, no, I really shouldn't.
I know another English person, you should meet
And I'm
them.
like,
And it's
why
like,
is that the thing that's the connection here? How
Yeah,
about
like,
you
you
both
know,
like video games?
yeah,
Or how
you know,
about you're
yeah,
both
exactly.
obsessed with Pokemon?
Something where like people are actually going to connect, but stuff like sort of, oh, you have like a, you know, this thing about you that isn't like a personality thing.
Yeah.
It's just a thing that like
It's
that
just
you
a
are.
thing.
Yeah, it'd be like going, oh, you're both tall, like talk
Yeah!
to each other. I
You're
don't know,
both
like
tall. You must
that's
be
kind of
the
what
same
it's.
person.
Yeah, you know, I don't know, but so,
Oh
yeah.
god. So now like cuz you moved, so you were like, I'm going to be a voice actor. I'm going to look up how to do
Yes.
this. I'm going to move out to the United States. My like when you first moved out here, you like did you immediately move to LA?
So what happened was, so I did the trips, and then basically, so I did like 3 trips in 3 years. And then, and I sort of made demos and stuff, and I had like a bit of like agency interest, and people were saying, yeah, you should be out here. Like, you love this, you've got talent for this. You know, I think you could go far, kind of thing, if you were here. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. But like that, I'm sure like in like 6 months, like to a year and a half tops, I'll be back out here in some kind of like long-term capacity where I can work. Because again, on like my trips, I could never work. I could just like take classes and stuff.
Right.
Oh,
so you were taking classes out here already then?
Yeah, so in these like 3 trips I did, so the first trip I did was for like a voiceover convention. It was like a week-long voiceover convention, and it was kind of if you see voiceover conventions these days, like VO Atlanta and stuff like that, I feel like they kind of spurned from the one that I went to, which was actually called the Voice Convention, Voice Over International Creative Experience.
That's a thing?
Clever. That it was like a decade or so ago, but the last one was in 2014.
Okay.
But this was like the sort of OG one. It like started in like 2008 or maybe like 2007. I think it did one like 2007, 2008, 2010, 12, and 2014, something like that. They did them like every 2 years, and then like other ones kind of sort of, you know, kind of came about as a result of that, like sort of VO Atlanta and other ones. But this was like the original one, and I went to the 2012 one, and that was my so it was like first time I'd ever been to America, first time on a plane. I was on my own. It was like a 10.5-hour flight. Just kind of just there was like a lot of firsts and a lot of weird kind of things for me. But so I did this convention, and it was great because I can't drive. I don't drive. Maybe I will someday. I don't know. But
it's hard to be in LA when you can't drive.
Yeah, it's sort of limiting in some ways, but we do have like Lyft and everything, like Lyft and Uber and everything now. So it's not. Yeah, again, if I'd have moved out here like a day ago, I would have like learning to drive would have been like the first thing I'd have done or whatever. But it's sort of, and the other thing as well is that because I'm in Burbank, and like so much stuff is like in Burbank or close to Burbank that I actually don't need to drive in that sense. It is only when I go to like Santa Monica or West Hollywood, West LA or whatever, that it's like a bit far, and it's like I have to like get 2 buses, and like each one takes like about an hour or whatever. But anyway, but the first trip I did, the LA convention, it was what was great about it is it was all this different stuff, all these different areas of VO, all these different teachers, loads of different people, loads of different teachers, so much learning, and it was like all centered on one place. Like I didn't have to go around to a load of different studios or anything. It was all just everything in one hotel for a week.
That's really nice. Yeah.
So that's really cool, and I was like, cool. I don't have to worry about like finding my way around LA or anything like that. So that was like my first thing, and I got to meet so many amazing people. I met like Bill Farmer did a thing there, so I got to meet him, and like Rob Paulson and were on a panel, and I got to meet them, and there's like Pat Fraley and just all kinds of people. It was incredible. So that was like my first taste, and it was like so amazing, and I was like so sad that I had to go home.
Yeah.
And I came back like a year and a bit later. I'd done like Skype classes with people in America once I went back home, like people who I'd met in the 20. I then did Skype classes with in the time kind of in between. So I was like Bill Holmes and then he pointed me towards Richard Horvitz, and I did Crispin Freeman's online class and stuff like that. And then so in 2013, trip number 2, that one was the incredible one where I actually did go around LA and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But that was like that I could spend ages talking about that trip, but it was insane. It was like just the best thing ever. I like got to go to Nickelodeon twice to watch sessions be recorded.
Oh,
like
that's cool.
and because you've done classes with Charlie Adler, so
yes.
I did a workshop with Charlie Adler, which was amazing.
He's
so much fun.
favorite person. I love him.
He's so funny, and I love his energy, and just oh man,
everything about him.
Okay, so my favorite thing that I love to kind of say about Charlie Adler, because the thing I kind of knew about Charlie Adler is that like he could sort of be like intense, angry, and very sweary, right? So I was a bit intimidated about doing this workshop with him, even though he's someone I admired and I'd like a good teacher or whatever. I was sort of I was worried about this class or whatever. And I like got to meet him beforehand and just sort of quickly say hi. And I just wanted to quickly, say hi, like, love you as this and this, been a fan like for ages. I'm so excited about this class tonight, and just good luck and thank you kind of thing or whatever. I don't know. But I said my piece. It was like 30 to 45 seconds long. And then he just kind of like melted and was like so nice and sweet and lovely.
That's the thing. He's a big teddy bear.
He is. And that's the thing. So, and the weirdest thing, and maybe this is like the sort of mathematical side of me where it's like, there's like equations and balancing two sides of a formula and stuff like that. But Charlie Adler's like one of the most fascinating people I've ever met, because it's like, here is like this kind of like angry, intense, most foul-mouthed person you'll ever meet, who is also simultaneously sweet, lovely, kind, and nice, and big-hearted. And it's like, wait, those two things all exist in the same person? Yes.
Yes.
And it doesn't make sense, and the math sort of thing. And the math part of my brain is like, sort of do the calculations, like figure out how that works. But yeah, he's great. But anyway, so I like said hello. I met him, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, like, oh, that's so nice." Like, sort of, like, what brings you here, or whatever. And then, I like, because I was with Bill Holmes, it was at his studio.
Yeah.
And Bill like said something or whatever, and then basically, and it was like literally within a minute of me within a minute, my mouth to talk to him. He had like invited me and Bill to Nickelodeon. Which was just phenomenal. But anyway, so I had a great class with him. And then we got to go to Nickelodeon like the next week.
That's amazing.
And it was brilliant. And it was great because I didn't know kind of what it was for or anything. I didn't know whether he was like acting or directing. So, we went to Nickelodeon. It was an amazing dream.
Oh no, you cut out a little bit. You went to Nickelodeon.
No. Sorry, I went to Nickelodeon, and I love Nickelodeon so much. It was a dream come, because like Nickelodeon's like my favorite, and like I want to be in like all the Nickelodeon stuff.
Yeah.
So that's like my dream and my goal. But so I went, and it was a dream, and we sort of went there, and we were waiting for Charlie, and again I was just waiting to find out, acting or directing kind of thing. And he was directing, and then I was like, so if he's directing, like who's doing the acting? And then so they're just kind of talking, and again, like they're just kind of talking, whatever, like the Charlie and the like engineers and producers or whatever, and they just sort of say, oh yeah, like Nolan's running. Nolan, as in Nolan North, is like yes, and so I got to watch.
That's amazing.
I got to watch Nolan North record and be directed by Charlie Adler, and it was the single greatest experience of my life.
That's amazing.
It was just amazing, and so much fun, and they were so much fun together, like good gosh. And I have like a really fun photo of like the three of, well, I have like several fun photos of the three of us. There's one where I'm just like laughing so hard in it because they were just making me laugh like all the time. So there's one where you can just see me laughing in the photo, and then there's another one where like I can't even remember which way around it was, but like I think was it Charlie or I can't even remember whether it's like Charlie or no, them is like lifting their leg up across me and the other one's like holding it. And
Oh my god.
so maybe I can like dig out a tweet or something like that and send it to you. But yeah, anyway, so that was like the most amazing thing ever. And it was great because I got to meet Rob Paulson in my 2012 trip.
Yeah.
And that was great. But I did like a private class with him. He was doing like private classes at the time. So in the 2013 one, I was just desperate to do a private class with him.
Yeah.
He did like offer them like on Skype, but I was like, no, I want to go to America and do one with him.
For real.
I know if, and I was like, I know if we just sit down and talk for like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, I don't know how long the thing was going to be. I was like, I know if we just get to sit down and talk, we'll get along so well.
Yeah.
And we did. And we actually we like sat down for one thing, but then we got to like sit down and do like a second one, which was great. But at the end of the first one, he was like, look, we're like far from done talking, so let's do another thing. And he was like, oh, I tell you what, it was just the funniest thing because he was like, I tell you what, like, have you ever been to Nickelodeon? And he was kind of expecting the answer to be no, as
Right.
he rightly should have done. But I was like, actually, yeah, like Charlie Adler invited. It was the strangest thing. But it was like no, but it's like, okay, I have been, but like I want to live there, so any opportunity I get to go back. And so Rob was like, I've got, and this was back when the 3D like 2012 series of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles recording.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm doing a Turtles session on Tuesday, or Monday or whatever. I'll see if I can get you in. So then I got to go a second time.
That's
and
insane.
I got to watch, and so I got to watch Rob Paulson and Greg Sipes get directed by Andrea Romano.
Oh my god.
I was way too nervous in front of her. Like I just kind of was like too nervous and shy in front of her. Rob and Greg I was like cool with, but like that would I've like overcome shyness and stuff like that like so much in the years, and that's because I was like really shy before that first America trip. And then that first America trip I did, I was like, I have to talk to people. I can't just like stand awkwardly in a corner. I can't spend all this money and fly all this like 5,000 miles and just not do anything. I have to like be the me who I've always wanted to be. And I was, and it was great. And so I've overcome like a lot of shyness issues and stuff, even though I still think of myself as shy, even though a lot of other people don't think of me as shy now because they're like, Beau, you're like really chatty. It was like, sometimes I am.
I thought you
like
were
just-
shy when I first met you, but that's also comparing yourself to me, and I talk all the time.
So yeah, so I don't know.
Although
but,
I would argue that actually me talking all the time is me being shy, because that's how it comes out.
Right, yeah, you know, so
The more awkward it is, the more talking I do, and it's not a good thing.
right, yeah. So, but yeah, so I got to watch because I'm like a big Ninja Turtles fan. I watched you know the 80s, the sort of the 80s 90s series when I was a kid, and then I watched like the 2003 series and then that series. I haven't been able to watch Rise yet, which is a real shame because I really want to, and I will someday. But yeah, so I got to watch an episode of that, and what was really cool is that it was. When I was like watching it, it was really cool because I kind of knew that it was like a very special episode and that it would be like one of the best they do in the entire show. Like the show was only like halfway through its run, but I knew that it would just be like one of the top episodes. And I remember before like the final season, there was like an IGN thing, top 10 favorite Turtles episodes, and it was like number 4 or something like that. They'd put the one that I got to watch recorded, and and I'll just tell a quick fun story, just, I don't know, just like about voiceover in general.
Yeah.
Because this was just, it was so funny watching Greg Sipes, right?
Yeah.
Because, and it was really funny. This isn't like a critique on him or anything like that. And I'm going to sort of clumsily word this, but there were some things where it is a bit like, I don't want to say unprofessional, but you'll know what I mean when I say these things. But there were just these moments where like there's one moment where he'd like drunk too much water and he was like, I need to use the bathroom kind of thing, and like sort of like just and he's like,
That's a really good impression.
But he asked at like an awkward time or something like that. And then there are 2 points where they were doing some ADR, and just for people who don't know, ADR is where there's like already footage kind of like animated or created, and then you have to like match the lip flaps or whatever. And they'll kind of do it if they like decide to change a line, or they'll do it for like fight sounds. It's like there's kind of like, because where animation is usually recorded before you animate anything, often they'll do fight sounds once it has been animated, because it makes more sense for a bunch of animators to like
they'll do
animate
some of it when we're like in the booth, but then once it's animated, they might see, oh, we need an extra punch here. Like
exactly, because it's like they don't have the fight scene choreographed when you're doing that first thing, but then they'll like draw this amazing sequence, and it's like, oh yeah, there are a few more punches and kicks, or like, oh, the scream he did was like a bit too big, or whatever,
or it's not that big of a hit, or it's a much bigger hit, like
exactly. So they were doing this hang on, sorry, I need to grab my water. But like, so they were doing a bit of ADR for some upcoming episodes, and it was like, and again, so they're doing it for Donatello and Michelangelo. Donatello, Greg was Michelangelo, and they're like, okay, Rob, so Donnie's gonna do like a little kind of like a jab here kind of thing. So it's kind of beep beep beep, wah 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 kind of thing. I was like, okay, cool, right? And then and then Greg, so he's gonna do like kind of similar thing, like flick with the nunchuck, and then a kind of thing. Beep beep beep, and then you see on the screen like Mikey swinging his nunchucks, but you hear no sound. And then Greg is like, oh, sorry, I'll do that. Kind of, and it's like, and it happened like twice. And so there were just these like funny points where he kind of like missed cues. And
I mean, but we all do that. I definitely have points where like,
exactly.
I just zoned out and I was like, oh, I'm working. Right. Fuck. Yeah, let's do that again.
Yeah, exactly. So
and it's just like a slight moment of me disassociating for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, so because I think he might have like shown up a bit late as well. So he like shown up late. He'd had a few of these little things, and you could be thinking, why do they hire this guy, kind of thing. But like, he's so good as Michelangelo. So good. It's not just that, but
also, like, I think there's also an understanding in Los Angeles that half the time you're late because you were doing another session and it was across the fucking city and there's traffic. So like, yeah.
So, but this was where like he was so amazing. So I'm sort of trying to kind of follow the script and stuff, but I'm kind of also just like so kind of elated and overjoyed. I'm kind of almost like, I'm not taking in like the overall. I'm not taking in the overall story and thread of things as well as I could have been. I was kind of almost just taking things like moment to moment kind of thing, line to line. So, and it was like, say like a 30-page script or whatever. They're on, like page, I don't know. They're on like whatever page, and they're on whatever page, whatever line. And then there's just this point where he just kind of goes like, hey, excuse me, can we go back to line 96 or whatever it was, and this was like quite a while ago, right? And he just sort of suddenly just says, can we do a line a few pages back? And it was like, Andrea Maya's like, she like has to, I think, find it even. Like, yeah, sure, we can do the line. Okay, like, give us what you got, kind of thing. And basically what's happening in the episode is like, I won't go on a massive thing here, but like they're in the woods. And there's like this kind of weird, they're on like this kind of like spiritual quest kind of thing in the woods. And there's this kind of like spiritual deer thing, which kind of looks like the thing from Princess Mononoke.
Cool.
And they kind of realize to like complete their vision quest, they need to find this deer again. Like they've seen it at the beginning of the episode, they need to find the deer again. So they need to like lure the deer out or something like that. And what happens is like Mikey like throws like one of their frozen pizzas like into the woods, and the line is supposed to be like, I hope you like pizza, magic deer, kind of thing, right? So he's like throwing one of his pizzas. I hope you like pizza, magic deer, kind of thing. That's the bit. But what he kind of did, so he'd done this line like the way is intended. It sounded great. I didn't think I'd already like forgotten the line.
Right.
But he was like, can I go back and do that again? Okay. And he took it to a whole nother level because, again, it's Mikey throwing away one of his pizzas. So he gets to do the line again. And he goes, "I hope you like pizza, you super lucky magic deer," sort of thing, because he doesn't want to give him one of the pizzas. And so everyone in the room is like laughing, you know, because they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's such a great idea. Like, of course he doesn't want to give up the pizza. You know, of course he's like jealous of this deer, you know." And it was great.
It's
And
little
we're all
things
in
like that, like, yeah, that's
just
the reason why he keeps getting work.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god, he can like see this in his head. Like he can, like he's already got like it's like he's gone into the future, watched the episode, and then come back to us and got it in his head, kind of thing. Like, and it was just astonishing, and it kind of was like this, you know, that was like such an amazing thing to watch, and it was really, and I felt very privileged and lucky to be in that room, in that moment because I was watching this thing and I was like, that's what's going to be in the episode. And a bunch of people are going to watch that moment and they're going to think that him kind of being jealous of the deer was the way that it was always going to be. And it was like, nope, that was just a thing he did. And that was very special. And I'm very grateful to Rob for getting me in on that session and getting to meet Greg and Andrea and Pete Hastings and everyone, and to watch that moment and to kind of, I mean, there's not really. It's like a lesson, but not a lesson. You know, I mean, there's not anything I can. It's something to aspire to.
Yeah,
you know?
It's something to look at and be like, oh crap, how do I learn how to do that? Or like,
yeah.
And it's funny because like I actually get like I improv quite a bit. I improv more than you guys will even know because there's a lot of stuff that they don't put in the game. You know, it's funny because like you mentioned that like that one little thing of like you super lucky deer because obviously he would be upset because like that's his pizza. But in this new one where they like introduce Yanfei, I believe like there's a part where you know Paimon's watching all these contracts being had and Paimon's looking back and forth and being like, oh my god, what is all these contracts? And you know, Paimon says that they're confused, and then I added on, Paimon's all out of brain juice again, because I was like, first of all, like I was like, that's okay, right? Because why wouldn't we have the callback to the brain juice comment? and then of course like MiHoYo is like, oh yeah, why wouldn't we? Like, yeah, we're gonna do that. Like, you know, it's little things like that. That like, you know, and that's again, that's not necessarily an original idea from me. That's me bouncing off of what MiHoYo has already given me, which is the idea that Paimon runs out of brain juice. So why wouldn't Paimon say that again in future parts where Paimon's super confused?
Exactly, right.
And I think that's like the one thing that I get from a lot of people that are like, how do you improv with like and you just know what to say? And I'm like, I don't know what to say, but also aren't you improving right now?
Yeah, exactly.
You're literally improving right now. Do you know the things that you're gonna say? I don't. I just say them. I have no filter. It doesn't exist.
I actually do have one maybe kind of sort of tip about improving.
Yeah.
And it for anyone who's seen like Avengers Infinity War, this is I promise this is going somewhere.
Yeah.
Sounds very, very random way to start this thing, but it's like if for people who've seen that movie and they know the bit where like Doctor Strange, because this is just a way I kind of think of it, and it's very much a way I live my life. Doctor Strange, when there's the bit where he's using the time stone to look at like all the different possible realities kind of thing, like all the different potential futures, like if you kind of like think about all your different futures, like anytime I go into any, like I've like talked to you on stream like a million times in my head, right? I've imagined how this is gonna go a zillion times you invited me on here. I've sat and thought about the things we might talk about and what kind of things I might say.
But then nobody expected me to be a dumbass and not have enough keys.
So, you know, but no, that's the thing. Like, in how many of those futures did she not have the keys? One. You know, so you know, but
actually,
like,
it was all of them. That's the truth.
yeah. How many of them?
How many futures did I actually have the key? It was one.
How many do you do the quest? One. Yeah. So you know, but so I've but it's kind of that. Again, it's that sort of like use your imagination to kind of just envision all the different scenarios of everything. It kind of because it kind of can allow you, oh, if someone says this kind of thing, you can say this, and if this kind of thing happens in life, you can do that. And it's a very if
I
you kind
don't
of like
even
really
do
kind
that.
of broaden.
I mean, like, I was trained differently with improv, which is if it feels right, say it.
Right, yeah.
If it feels right, say it. That's it. That's my like key. Although your key definitely works out. My key is fucking wing it and go with the flow, as I'm doing with this.
No, totally, you got to.
Now. Because like, and it's funny because people also like there is such a thing as too much improving, and that's when you're not.
Yeah.
That's when you're not like, because honestly, the real key to improving is listening.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's listening and being very aware of what's going on with and what relationship your character has with the people that are currently in the scene, because in certain situations, like with any character, they might act completely differently just because there's different people there.
Yeah, exactly.
And so yeah, if it feels right, do it. If it doesn't, don't do it. But
yeah,
like,
right.
so that way you're not forcing anything. Like you can definitely tell when improv is forced.
Yeah.
And it's when that person and that's the thing, is that somebody is like, well, how is your improv so funny? And it's because I don't try to be funny. I don't try to be funny. I don't. Thank you for the subscription. Yeah, go.
Actually, there's a story you've just reminded me of, actually, as well.
Yeah, do it.
So in one of the trips, okay, this was a nutty thing, actually. So when I said I did like a private sit down with Rob, it was really funny. He was like, where would you like to do the where would you like to do the sort of sit down? And I was like, would you mind like coming to Bill Holmes' studio? He said we could use like the spare room in the studio to like sit down and have the chat. And he's like, oh, that's perfect. I know the studio, whatever. And we'd sort of picked a day. Like we picked again, like a Tuesday or Wednesday. I keep saying Tuesday for every day in like all these stories. But so like a Tuesday or whatever. And he was like, well, that's serendipitous. I have an audition at that studio that day for a commercial. It was like, whoa, okay, that's weird. So that was great. But then what was even nuttier was I was staying with a voice actor who was like a friend of Bill's, and who I then became friends with. And he kind of did drive me around. Like if Bill didn't sort of drive me around places, he did. And I was like, would you by any chance be able to like take me to Bill's studio on Tuesday? And he was like, oh, I have an audition there that day. And my roommate and Rob, whose voices don't sound similar, who do not sound similar at all, both were auditioning for this commercial, an in-person commercial audition, on this day, and they were like half an hour apart, sort of thing, which was perfect. So it really was like meant to be, I think, just because like all these people needed to be at this one place at this one time, and they were. But the reason I say that, sorry, this does link into improv. But anyway, I got to sit in on and watch a commercial casting session, which was a really cool experience as well.
Yeah.
And it was a funny thing you would see people kind of like do an improv or do something kind of a little bit quirky or something, and it'd be very natural. They kind of improv it.
Yeah.
And either it actually genuinely would kind of go down quite well, or they would perceive it to go down well. And then when they do like another take, they would like try and incorporate that little line change or improv again. And there's so many who kind of did it again and good as the first time because they tried to like recreate a spontaneous moment.
Right. And you can't do that.
You can't do that. It doesn't work, not saying if you do something you can only do it once, but it's like, but you then have to get creative and kind of figure out a way. Like if you're gonna do it again, you have to figure out a way to do it again where it's gonna work again. And that's kind of personal to you and whatever the situation is, and so on and so forth. So yeah, but that's an interesting thing just about like thing and like forcing improv, because I'd kind of watch these people where they'd kind of they'd do a little something with their sentence, and it'd be funny the first time, and then they'd do a little something with their sentence Yeah, and it's like, no, it didn't work that time.
Yeah, and it's because they're trying to force it that time.
So-
I think it's funny because like I worked with Gary Austin, who was the inventor of the groundlings, also God rest his soul. That's where my improv background came from. I worked with him since I was like 12. And
that's great.
yeah, and so I'm very lucky, found the right teachers. But like it got to a point where I worked with him so much in improv that you know, like it's sometimes, you know, he would put me with somebody who was trying too hard, because the way I would combat that was I wouldn't talk. I would react to everything, and I would do things on stage, but I would not say a single word. And he knew, like, because he put me with somebody where he was trying to explain to that person, it's not working, and it's because you're not listening to your partner. Because you're bombarding them. You're trying to, like, in any sort of scene, your goal is not to make yourself look good. It's to make your partner look good. Period. If you are there to make yourself look good, the scene's gonna go flat. It's gonna die, and it's just not good. It's not good at that point. But if your goal is to make your scene partner look good, everything will go well, because their job is to also make you look good. It's a mutual understanding. So listening to your partner is like super important. And yeah, there'd be tons of people. You would either get people that wouldn't provide anything, or they would like just keep on giving you stuff, and then you'd be like, okay, you're doing a scene by yourself now. So Gary would put me with them because I used to be that person where I would give too much, and then I, you know, got out of it because I was a kid and I picked it up fast. But like I combat that with, okay, well then I'm just not gonna say anything because you're saying everything. So I would react, and it's really funny to see, like, and so from then on, once I started doing that, he put me with everybody that did that, because it would be a really good learning lesson for them. Because he was like, that's genius. Thank you for doing that. We now know how to deal with these people so that they learn faster on what to do. And so, like, yeah, because I would just sit and I would react. I would definitely be present in the scene, but I would not actually say an actual word. And and it's funny because then it created a really great scene where they're trying to get something out of me. And,
right, yeah.
And like, and then it would be like, what, are you mad at me? You're mad at me, aren't you? And then, you know, I'd react to that in any way that I'd felt like, but I would not say a word. And it then became a really great scene. And then they would get mad at me, of course, because they would be like, I don't understand. Why wouldn't they say anything? And then Gary would be like, because you always say everything. Oh, yeah. I don't even, and the best part was that, like, where the laughs came from was not from the person saying a lot of words. It was from my reaction to all of that. Because that was funnier all of a sudden. Because again, if you like trying to force something, it's never going to be funny. Trying to be funny will not make you funny. Most of the time when I'm funny is when I do something dumb. And it just is funny because I'm dumb. So yeah, my microphone is echoing. It shouldn't be. I don't see how it would be.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know.
You sound... Do you just mean like suddenly, or because you sound the same to me?
Yeah,
like, and you sound fine to me.
Definitely
like on my end, you sound. On my end, you sound fine.
So Amelia said no echo for me, so I don't know why there's an echo for you, but there's no echo for anybody else. So whatever. But yeah, I think that's honestly, improv has taught me that with acting too. Don't try to force anything in acting. I'm working with another student where what they said to me was, that was a good take. It feels like I'm doing nothing. I'm like, yeah, that's how it's supposed to feel.
Yeah, yeah.
You're supposed to be in the moment, so it's gonna feel like you did nothing. Cause do we feel like we do anything when we feel any emotion? No, because we just feel it. And they were like, oh my god, that's genius. And I'm like, yeah, you're trying too hard. Stop it.
Well, that's like,
I'm glad you said something, because then
we as human beings, like, we're not always like up to an 11 on every emotion.
No, we're not.
all the time. Yeah, if you're in a scene where it's like,
where it is very serious.
So in the scene where like your parents have just died in a car crash and like you're in debt and and you're breakdown. It's like, okay, yeah, you can be in at 11, but like right now, like again, like sort of I know you and stuff like that, so I'm like excited about this stream, and I'm maybe I'm like a little bit nervous, but like none of those things are like super dialed up. This is just us being normal and chill and whatever, and that's kind of it. And it's like and a lot of life is like that.
Yeah, a lot of life is very, very small things, very, very much. And like one of the things that I do like with Chongyun is that he is not only is he like an ice character, but he is a very chill dude. Like he is actually a chill dude, and so I'm so mad at myself because we're not doing the hangout yet. And don't spoil it for me. We're gonna do this again. Beau will be back. We'll do it later.
Well, yeah, we'll figure out something.
We'll figure out something when I actually am not stupid and I have enough keys. But like because like I feel like even in a setup where this is a very cartoony type game, so it is a little bit heightened more than normal. It's nice to have a character where he is just kind of like chill.
It's funny without sort of spoiling the hangout. The hangout actually has some good examples of. I think there's a weird thing I kind of feel about Chongyun, where I feel like my Britishness helps, because British people kind of have like a reservedness and a sort of holding back kind of thing, and a sort of. And basically, you'll see one or two things in the. There's kind of like one. I think Chongyun's a bit like kind of like, I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit worked up, and your kind of response as the traveler is a bit like, you're getting worked up, or like, oh, that's you getting worked up kind of thing. And it's like, and in a way that's kind of like a British thing, like sort of you kind of like, oh my gosh,
I smiled. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's sort of like sorry, I'm getting rather worked up. It's like but to other people they might be like, really, like, oh okay, it's kind of there's like a I don't know, like a low keyness or like a reservedness, a holding back things. I don't know, but it's something that kind of that works well with Chongyun. It kind of vibes well with Chongyun. Yeah. So it's kind of it kind of lives in this kind of sort of reserved place rather than like a whoa.
Yeah, thank you for the subscription.
Yes, anyone who's like subscribing, commenting, all the bits and all these lovely
Christian
Twitch things.
Also, just raided us. Hi, Banis. We love you. Bananas! Bananas raid! Good.
So, anyway, so to kind of like finally answer like your question that you probably asked like an hour ago.
Sometimes it takes a long story to answer those questions. I get it.
But so I did those trips and stuff like that, and then and then basically kind of because again it's nice because I haven't really been able to talk about the trips with anyone. I kind of just say I did trips and I don't really get to tell the amazing
I want to hear about those. Those were
that happened.
Cool.
I know, that's the thing. They're like the best part, and I never get to talk about them. But so I did those trips, and then unfortunately, then what happened? Oh, because that was it. I said the whole, I was like, oh, I'll be back here after like a half a year to a year and a half tops, and it then took like over 3.5 years or something like that to kind of get everything I needed. And I won't go into all the things that I kind of needed for my visa and stuff like that because it's like long and boring and stressful, and I don't really go into it and everything.
But gross.
But like but it was a very kind of
stupid American custom systems that.
But but yeah, it's a very sort of complex process, and it one that sort of voiceover probably doesn't sort of help with compared to like other careers and vocations and stuff. So, but anyway, but I sort of kept trying to work hard, and I kept in contact with everyone here, and it was very weird because again, I'd done like 3 trips in 3 years, and then I did nothing for 3, sort of over 3 years kind of thing. It was only say after 3 years that everything finally started coming together, and it looked like it was finally going to be happening. And then that took like half a year, but it was and it was a very hard thing as well because it always looked like it was going to happen. Like I said, I thought it'd take like 6 to 12 months. So I was just like, okay, I'll do like pay-to-play websites for a bit, and then that'll kind of tide me over, and then I'll be out here. And they're kind of, and it was a very weird way to live my life, because I never really kind of like put both feet down with anything I ever kind of did, because I always thought I didn't want to like ever plant my roots in anything, because I was always like, well, soon I'll be going to America, and it always genuinely looked like I might soon be going to America. So there was kind of like, well, like, yeah, like don't buy like a $12,000 booth, sort of thing, because it's like, because soon you'll need that money for America. Whereas, kind of, maybe I could have like, it's sort of one of those things where now you look back and it's like, well, maybe I could have like tried to have got something, or I could have tried to get like a more of a proper space than I had. But I didn't do that because of my circumstances, and because it just looked like America was going to happen. So it's a very weird and sort of like kind of painful few years, really, because it was just this sort of constant process of like getting my hopes up and then having them dashed, and then getting them hopes up, and it really didn't stop until kind of like literally I was here. Even when I like the thing was like all approved, and I kind of, even when I was like booking the plane tickets, which is like kind of like the last thing you do, I still kind of couldn't quite rest easy. I remember one point it was like
scary.
After it is, and it was kind of like my whole future as well. It was just kind of like, because the weird thing about it, and again, without getting into the intricacies of it all, there was just this weird kind of thing where it was like going through the application. If my application had been turned down, there would have been very little I could have done to have, like, say, like done a new application and then got it accepted. Like if I had been turned down, there wouldn't have been like, oh well, I'll just go away and I'll do this. Like, no, that kind of would have been the end of it. But it's like, okay, but that would have been the end of like me working towards something obsessively for 10 years.
Right.
And if I'd have got a no instead of a yes, like I don't know what I would have done. And it came very, and there were points where it looked like it would come very close to that, and luckily it didn't, and luckily I'm now here, and hopefully I sort of am here for the long haul and everything now. Fingers crossed. Again, after all that, I never kind of assume anything anymore, like with anything ever. Again, I say that I did assume we were going to be doing the quest today. So I did jump the gun a bit on that, but I'll make sure I don't. Again, like, don't assume anything, kids. Always be loose, like improv. So, but yeah. But it was a very long and sort of painful then waiting process after that. But it's all absolutely been worth it. I love it here so much, Core. Like, this really makes me so happy.
I love you being here, and that's honestly that's what makes it worth it, is if you're happy.
Yeah, and it just, I have an amazing life, and I wouldn't doing anything else anywhere else.
It doesn't make sense. So, like I try to picture myself working in like an office job, and I'm like, I literally couldn't, because both my physical and mental disabilities make it impossible. Yeah.
I did temp jobs like in an office, and I remember one day, I kind of hope the pandemic does change things about office work, because
why can't we
so
work
much
at
office
home
work
for that?
Yeah, I get that you might need to go in physically
For
some
certain
days and stuff, and you might need to have like some physical presence in the office. Always kind of thing. It's like, okay, but then rotate people around, do stuff, have like a day where everyone's in, and then just have everyone else kind of like do the other 2 or 3 days in kind of shifts or whatever, Anyway, but so I do hope the pandemic fixes that for all you office people out there, because office work is a weird thing. But I remember one day,
specifically for people with disabilities, like offices have been telling people with disabilities for years, no, you can't work from home, and we're like, we have disabilities though. We have actual disabilities. Well, no, it's not fair. Or like, and then the minute the pandemic hits, oh, you can all work from home. I thought you said we couldn't.
Yeah, and
pretty sure you said we couldn't.
And there's not like an Eddie who has to work 4 times harder with office work.
Right.
like for most elements of office. So, yeah. so yeah, it can be done. Like there's definitely, you know, but no, but anyway, but again, and one of the stupid things about it as well is like wearing like a suit and stuff. Like it's like I'm just
Why are
going
we
on a
wearing a suit if
computer.
I'm not gonna see anybody? I'm gonna
just
see
doing
the
like
same people that I've seen all fucking year. I have to wear a
I'm
suit for
just
that.
yeah. Why do you need a suit to sit at a computer and do like spreadsheets? You
Yeah.
know, it's just and basically everything. I kind of just amounted everything to like glorified data entry, basically. Like
Yeah.
even if it wasn't called data entry, I was like, okay, but I'm just kind of like typing stuff into a computer. Like that's all everything felt like to me. Like that's what it all boiled down to at its purest form. But I remember one day I was like walking to like the train station. I think maybe I'd like finished a day of work or whatever. And I remember just kind of like I caught a glimpse of myself in like a window, like a reflective window, and I could sort of see myself and everyone else. But it's like for like the first like nanosecond, I like didn't recognize myself, sort of thing. Like I was looking at all sort of faces in the window back at me, kind of thing, and then I kind of saw my lanky body kind of peeping over most of them, and I was like, oh, that's me. But it was just sort of a weird, and it was kind of like being in a suit and in an office, like, yeah, it's not me. I was good at it. I'm good at typing away at computers and stuff like that, but it's not me. And
what you were meant to do.
but that's the thing. Yeah, I liked you kind of couldn't imagine doing anything else. This is like a really silly sounding thing, and this might be a bit niche. But there's this amazing moment. Again, this is going to sound really stupid. There's this amazing moment in the movie Cars 3.
All right, I wasn't expecting that one, but keep going.
There's an amazing moment in Cars 3. I don't know if you know the plot of Cars 3.
I think I fell asleep in the first Cars movie, and that is the extent of that.
Okay, Cars 1. No, I won't go through like the whole.
Cars 3 is the one where they're spies, right?
That's Cars 2.
Oh, that's Cars 2. What the fuck are they doing in Cars 3?
I genuinely like Cars 2. I know it's kind of weird. I know it's something where it should have been
when you're fully vaccinated, because I'm fully vaccinated. But when you're all in that household fully vaccinated, we'll sit down and watch all of Cars. I'll do that with you.
Yeah, we'll do that. Because I like them. They're good. Like, just don't take them too seriously, and like they're fun.
Oh, I'm sure. First of all, it has Owen Wilson in it. How can you take it seriously? I love the man, but yeah.
So. But the first one's basically about how he's like a sort of like a rookie kind of racer,
right?
Who kind of like is like a contender to win like his first ever championship.
And then he ends up in the middle of nowhere.
But yeah, and he's like really cocky and has like, and yeah, he ends up in the middle of nowhere, and that kind of brings the humility and realization that there's more to the world than himself, kind of thing. Right. That old story. Second one, spy movie. As it naturally follows, and then the third one is kind of like the true sequel to the second in a way. It's kind of him. It's him at the end of his career, and he kind of wants to have like one good final season. And he's got this like trainer, and she's someone who kind of grew up watching him, and she's now training him. And they have this like conversation, and she kind of asks him. She's like, that first race you did, like you won your first ever pro race kind of thing. Like, how did you know you were going to win? And he kind of turns to her and he sort of says, I don't know. I just didn't think, I never thought about if I didn't.
Yeah.
and that's kind of what like being like a, small town in the countryside in England. But once I kind of had this idea about voice acting in America, it was just kind of like, yeah, but because you'd get the question from people, like annoying people who kind of mean well, but they ask this question, and they keep, what happens if you don't make it? Yeah.
Well, there's other jobs in America. Fuck.
I mean, it's annoying. It was just annoying when people would ask that question multiple times.
Yeah.
Like I get asking it once, but once you start asking it multiple times, it's like, okay, like asking it once, you can get, even if you like. I mean, sometimes you could tell people would ask the question. It's like, you don't believe in me at all, or you think I'm crazy.
That's my grandma on my dad's side. No, seriously, this, like, after I booked a guest starring role on My Name is Earl, the woman, who I'm not gonna call a curse word right now, said to me, I thought about being an actor too, but then I grew up. And then I responded with, well, I've done more than be in high school productions in a stage thing that didn't pay, so fuck off, is what I responded with.
I loved My Name is Earl, by the way.
Because again, I don't have a filter, and I don't care if you're my grandma. If you're gonna say something dumb like that, that's gonna come out. Needless to say, that conversation didn't end really well.
Yeah.
Because I was like, that's funny. I just got paid to be an actor, so I think I already am one.
Yeah. So, but but there would also be people as well who. They would kind of ask that question, but you could tell they were asking it from like a very kind of logical and like just worried standpoint. Look, acting is a business where there is like a low success rate. Yeah. And
like you could even be working and still not really get far. That's just reality.
And so yeah, that's kind of so again, like it's a question. I understand it. But again, you can kind of tell when like people are asking it in a good way versus a bad way,
right?
And it's a bad way if they ask it more than once. But that was always kind of my thing. And again, the other thing, going back to Avengers, I've already talked about Endgame, but like there's the bit where Natasha and Steve are talking, and and like they're like, this is gonna work. They're talking about their plan at the beginning. They're like, Steve sort of turns and says like, yeah, it's gonna work because I don't know what I'm gonna do if it doesn't. And that's kind of what voice acting was like for me. Yep. This is going to happen. I am going to go to America and I am going to voice act in things, and this is going to be my life and my career because I got nothing else. This is it.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of funny because, like, my mom, of course, like, was always like, you still need to go to college, and I did go to college. I have my AA. It did happen. And because she said, I don't think Corina would have been anything else. And although I definitely have experienced other things besides acting career-wise, acting was always the forefront of, like, oh, I'm going to get a job that will work around my acting schedule. I'm going to get a job, like, so basically acting was always this is, like, I'm getting this job to work with acting. It was never of, oh, if acting doesn't work out, I'm going to do this. No, it was, I'm getting this job until acting pays the bills.
Yeah, and there's that kind of thing about acting as well, where again the concept of like, what do you do if it like doesn't work out? And it's like, well, the only way that like sort of like the only way that like this wouldn't work out, or the only way that I could like kind of not be able to do this is like if I like lost my voice or something,
right?
Like if my vocal cords got ripped out, then like I'd have to consider another career. But the only way that this kind of sort of quote unquote wouldn't work out is if I gave up on it. And that's kind of true of like acting in a way. And I get that there are some people who they might not sort of have the talent to sort of go super far with it for it to be their only thing or whatever.
Well, at that point, I just look at them and be like, did they take enough classes? And most of the time, no. The answer is no. Like I find that people that don't do well as actors either like they thought they were going to make it big within a year. That rarely happens.
Yeah.
Guys, it could take up to 10 years.
But that's the thing.
And
the
then
people who
they didn't take classes. They didn't have any initiative. They expected other people to walk them into studios or get them agents. And I'm like, no, that you have to do that. What? And also, nobody's gonna walk you in if you don't get the work yourself first. You have to get your own work first, and then people will be like, oh,
exactly.
Let me get you into this other studio too. You have to get the jobs first, though, to prove that you can do it.
Exactly.
And so anytime somebody is like, oh, I'm gonna quit being an actor, I'm like, yeah, you didn't try hard enough.
Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. There are people who are successful who don't try very hard at this, and it is a frustrating thing. But the best way to guarantee, but the best way to guarantee yourself success is to, sort of work hard and keep going and not give up and not have attitudes of like things are gonna just happen magically and quickly on their own.
Like
because you just said
Which I've had to actually like talk down to several students and basically be like, you're not some undiscovered fucking star. You're not.
Right, yeah.
You're not some undiscovered star that just needs a chance. No, you're not putting in the work. You're making very safe takes and then expecting that to get you somewhere. That's not how it works.
Yeah,
and
totally.
I've had to be that person that's had to tell those people like you're relying on this supposed natural talent that you have, which fucking doesn't exist. Natural talent doesn't exist. And I prove that from my mother's own fucking words, mind you, of me being an actor working when I was 8 years old, 8 years old, and my mom even admitting, Corina didn't start off naturally talented at acting, and yet here I am, a working actor. My own mother said that about me. My own fucking mother. But my mom will say that, but Corina was really good at listening and taking direction, and also wouldn't cry when the director yelled at them. And being a kid in the industry, that one's an important one.
I actually kind of said this on when I guested on Zach's stream. We went into this kind of like tangential talk about like school and education and stuff like that, because I sort of mentioned I went to university and how basically it was kind of unfortunately for people kind of like in our generation and stuff, it just unfortunately things like university and college are not what they were for like the previous generation. And we were sort of saying about that kind of stuff, and I kind of said, but again, part of me going to addition.
Oh, you cut out.
Oh, am I back, or am I here?
I think you're back.
Am I okay?
You're back.
Okay. So university was something I was happy to do, because in addition, like it was something I was sort of happy to do or happy to go along with, because I didn't like have anything else. It's what my mum had wanted for me like my whole life, and I was a very kind of academic person, but that doesn't mean I'm smart. Like I don't think I'm clever. I'm just sort of like good at learning kind of thing. Like I'm good at like paying attention and kind of and taking tests and stuff like that. And I took like a very kind of academic approach to my voiceover with like learning everything, and I just kind of different resources and people, and I took classes with lots of different people and found what worked for me. And again, like I said, I kind of was like, how do I kind of succeed, and then let's follow that path. Like I said earlier, I didn't rush into making a demo right away. I did all the classes and all the work and competitively viable in some form before I then made the demo and then started looking for work. Like it was only once, I looking for work was like the last thing that I did kind of thing.
Well, it's
and even
funny
then,
because people always ask me, should I get a theater degree? I say, no, get a business degree. You're a freelancer as a voice actor. You're running a business. Get a business degree. And that's also because now there are some universities out there that actually do have very good theater programs. Allegro went to a very good school for their theater program. But if your college or university is not known for their theater program, definitely do not take their theater classes, because I have to undo a lot of bad habits. Yeah. And also, Raging Tiger, you're fucking wrong, because I could stick natural talent up my fucking asshole and it still won't get me a job. I'm sorry, that was a little... natural talent as an actor doesn't exist. You know how many people come in and like say, oh, I've been told I have a natural talent, and then they don't get work because they rely on that natural talent to get them somewhere, because they were told by mommy and daddy that they were so good from the beginning, and then they don't take classes, and then they are not competitive. Anyway, sorry.
I'll find a kind of like happy middle ground here. This isn't me saying I agree with you, but I think the middle groundy thing I'm gonna, it's kind of, there's something which people are kind of getting at that they're mislabeling as natural talent. What I think people have is certain attributes
that might help them
if
pick
nurtured,
up. Yeah.
could turn them into a good actor. Like, oh, if if you just kind of have an ability, like if you can think quickly, if you're not afraid of talking to people, if you're not afraid of like, if you just like getting up on a stage,
that obviously
and
would
like
help
if
you
you
a
have like
lot.
those kind of like if you're like not afraid of getting up on a stage and making a fool of yourself in front of people, then like someone's gonna look at you and go, oh, you could like do plays and stuff like
and
that.
be an actor. But
but
that's
that doesn't like if you have
I
a
know
vivid
plenty of people
imagination,
that don't have
could
that
be an
naturally.
actor.
I know plenty of people like I mean even Charlie of all things has said that he has the worst stage fright. He will go into a full-on sweat.
Right.
This man worked on Broadway, and he even said that even his last Broadway show, which like he'd been working on Broadway for years at that point, he was sweating bullets before going on stage each time, fearful for his fucking life. And so I'm like, okay, so see if you have those things, there's still ways you can work around them so that you can still do what you want to do.
So there are things like, oh, you're kind of quite an uninhibited person. That's like a good quality to have for like, to be like a zany cartoon.
Right.
But that alone
is not it.
That one
because
quality,
otherwise I would have been famous a long time ago.
So 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 I think that's kind of a thing where people kind of like sometimes people will say natural talent, and it's like, no, you have these like 1 or 2 or 3 personal attributes
that can be helpful
that
if
could
you
be
nurture them
helpful
properly.
if you nurture them and then work on everything else. And and again, even something like having a nice sounding voice. Again, there are people with naturally nice sounding voices, like they're a nice person and they've got like an interesting texture to their voice. Yeah, that's something that's helpful.
You know how many people I say that like they're like, I've been told I should get into voiceover, and I'm like I was told I shouldn't. I was told I shouldn't get into voiceover because my voice was annoying. Guess what? That's how I fucking booked my work.
But like you can have a sharp axe, but that doesn't mean you're going to be good at chopping down a tree. Like
like,
so...
because like actually chopping down trees is actually a lot of technique that you have to learn.
There is.
But like there's a lot of technique into acting, and this is also why I say like you can always tell when somebody was told that they have a very nice voice because they concentrate too much on how much they sound, and then the acting isn't there. And I'm like, how you need to act? Where's the acting?
Yeah.
Oh, I need to act? Yeah, you need to act. Because it's voice acting. I know voice is first, but the acting's the important part. I could give a shit about the voice. And mind you, this is also coming from like all of the casting directors I know have always said I could give a shit about the voice.
Going a long way back just to like accents, a really important thing about accents as well, it's not just about sound, it's that there's kind of attitude that comes with accents. It's like like American people are more extroverted and confident than British people, and
100%.
British people are like introverted and sort of polite and reserved.
The humor is also 100% different.
The humor is different, and
which I think is funnier.
And those kinds of things like play into even like the accent and how you kind of say things, like the rhythm with which you say. Well, and also
the way you word things. Like, don't get me wrong, I love you, Beau, but British people in general will not tell me what they actually feel about anything ever, and that's really frustrating as an autistic person because I'm like, do you like it or not? It's very nice. Do you like it or not?
Yep, no, that's guilty. Yeah.
Like, it's just tell me if you like it or not. It's not like, fuck, god damn it. I think the favorite thing that I ever got from a British person was like, I suppose if I was in a different circumstance, this would be a very nice thing. And I was like, you hate it, got it. Like, what the fuck did you just say to me? Like, why would you say it like that?
One of my favorite things, and I kind of like paraphrase it often, kind of thing. Like I've kind of just taken it and made it my own thing now.
Mm-hmm.
It's the episode of The Simpsons where it was one that like Ricky Gervais wrote it. Or he's like credited with writing it because I think he's kind of been quoted as saying, "Oh, they took so much of it and made it like different and better though." But there's this line in it where Ricky Gervais comes in. He's like playing a character who's basically kind of like himself, and he kind of just like waffles on for like too long and it's kind of awkward or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Homer just kind of looks at him and he like goes, "You take forever to say nothing."
Yep.
And I kind of say, and that's how I describe myself. And like, I'm British, I take forever to say nothing. Like, that's the thing I say now to people because it's true. Like, that's kind of 100%
true.
It's true. It's true. It's true. It's very true. I mean, again, look at me. We said we were going to like take questions. You've only asked like 2 or 3 questions, and we've been talking like 2 hours.
You've been answering other questions while we've been going, so it's
well,
okay.
Well, I've kind of been. I've been inventing my own questions along the way.
Yeah, that's part of it.
But
you
so
know.
yeah, I don't know if you want to do any kind of quick fire questions with the chat, but again, quick fire is like
yeah,
7.
some quick fire. What's your favorite color?
Lime green.
Okay, what's your favorite food?
I like a good burger, but I will just give a shout out to like Indian food. Indian food's great, like and like chicken korma.
All right, what is a British snack that you miss that you wish was in America?
Oh man, there are a bunch. Because I think I even thought of stuff the other day. I'll tell you a thing which I like haven't had in a long time. It's not necessarily like my favorite, but just like sausage rolls.
Mm-hmm.
Just they're great, and they're like really common in England, and I've like not had one at all since I've been out here, and I could like probably make them or whatever if I got the ingredients, but yeah, I haven't had a sausage roll in ages, so it's kind of weird that it's been so long since I've not had one of them.
Okay, is there a difference between American fish and chips and fish and chips you get in England?
I've not had fish and chips here in America.
We need to change that.
The only difference that I would know is that if someone did literally give you, like here, fish and chips, like as in potato chips, then yes, that would be very different.
Well, it's funny because we call them fish and chips for here, but they are French fries.
But they are French fries, yeah. I don't know if I don't know if you do have fish and chips here, whether they kind of, because it's like, so like the chips or the fries, when you have like fish and chips are like kind of, they're like not very crispy. They're not usually like very crispy and stuff like that. They can be a bit like soggy and stuff like that. But I know that sounds weird, but like they're good. They're like sort of greasy.
Yeah. That's how we have them
soggy
here.
and stuff. Okay,
they're
good.
They're like big, thick French fries that are greasy.
Yeah. They're like thick and greasy and stuff, rather than like, sort of like thin pleats kind of thing.
Not McDonald's fries, not at all.
Yeah, not like that.
Yeah.
So
they're big.
I know ones. Like Chris Hack. Anytime like fries comes up, Chris Hackney will always tweet about like I have them with malt. I'd love to actually
have them with what?
Like malt vinegar.
Oh yeah. Sometimes, even out here, sometimes when you order fish and chips, they'll put vinegar on your table.
Yeah, so like fish and chips are good with malt vinegar, but I don't know if like say like a McDonald's fries like thin and crispy and stuff.
Yeah.
I'd kind of be interested in trying those with vinegar to see how they are. Like I bet it'd still be nice. Like fries are good with all kinds of things.
Okay. What's another question? Do you like the weather better here or in England?
Honestly, I actually do prefer it here. Because
I'm the opposite. I'm like Seattle. I want it cloudy and rainy all the time, and it's not.
I think I've never like had this diagnosed, but I think I do have like seasonal affective disorder. But the thing was, I lived in England where it's like dark and cloudy all the time. I like wouldn't know, like I know that sounds weird, but it was only kind of like in my last few years in England where in winter I just have these days where you just feel off, kind of thing. You just don't, I don't know, like your energy's different, thinking's different. You're just not at your best. And I kind of realized that, and the time and the way I've kind of really, so I kind of was like, I think I might have a bit of that, and the time I realized that like I probably do is actually moving here, because when the clocks do change for like, well, it's not about the clocks, but just when winter kind of kicks in and the days are different and it's like sort of starts to get dark and stuff in like the kind of mid-afternoon, even like here I kind of notice it, feel it, like, so it's like bright and sunny, searing heat, blinding sunshine, but then it's kind of like, it is kind of like, just kind of not very bright outside. So like, or you be indoors, you might need a light on, for, like, and at like something like 4 in the afternoon, and it's like, and that's kind of when I started to notice, like, oh wow, I can have like, like the power of the sun, which is like so invigorating and nice. But as soon as it kind of is like gone, it can kind of like at like a weird time of day kind of thing. It's then weird. So I think that so like the heat can be a bit of a difficult thing, but the sunshine is just like I
Nice.
kind of need the sunshine. Because in England it kind of sucks not having it. I like that. I like the thing I do like about England is that you do get a bit of everything. It's nice. It's nice like having a bit of snow and a bit of rain and a bit of everything. But the problem with England is that like the skew of all the different things you get is just way too much in the like cloudy and rainy and stuff, and it's not nice. A bit of rain every once in a while is cool, but in England it's just too cloudy and too rainy.
So we got a question from chat. Who is your favorite voice actor?
I'll say two because I've already kind of said like Rob Paulson. Like Rob Paulson is like kind of my favorite. But the other one I'd say is favorite is just because he kind of combines like my love of voiceover and Nintendo and Mr. Charles Martinet, Mario himself. Because he's like such. I love watching him like on interviews and watching him tell the story of like how he became Mario. I've watched like a bajillion different interviews of him telling that story a bajillion different times, and he just always tells it with this like enthusiasm and passion and happiness that is just so up my alley. Like I love it. So, yeah, he's wonderful. I hope I get to meet him someday. But yeah, and yeah, so again, and he kind of has this like wonderful, happy, positive vibe. That
he does.
I kind of love.
He's always a happy person.
That I just kind of want to have in my life and kind of give off kind of vibe, that kind of vibe I want to give. Kind of how he makes me feel.
Yeah. So then we got another question from chat. Do you have a favorite character of all time?
Just a favorite character of all time.
Just a favorite character. They didn't say that you voice. They just said a favorite character.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think I will go back kind of to my previous answer and just say like Mario. Super Mario. Mario games are like my favorite and stuff like that, and I love Mario and again he's like very just like positive and happy and like optimistic and stuff like that as well. So yeah, I love Mario, man.
So then we have a question. Chongyun always eats a popsicle in the character screen. What's your favorite popsicle flavor?
I'm not like a big popsicle. That doesn't mean I don't like them because I do, but just I don't really have them much or anything.
Okay, so if you had like a whole bunch of flavors, which one would you pick?
I think I do kind of like okay, I've never had a popsicle like this, but I bet if there was like a good apple flavored popsicle, it would
like apple?
Like a green apple popsicle.
I think there are green apple flavored popsicles somewhere.
I imagine there
like
are.
Like in Otter Pops.
But I've never I don't think I've ever heard of any such thing in England.
I believe Otter Pops has a green apple flavor because they have a green Otter Pop, and I'm like 60% sure that's green apple.
Like the greatest kind like the funniest like ironic curse of all time, right? Is I'm not like big on fruit. I like vegetables, but I like them when they're cooked. But there's something about like raw vegetables and particularly like sort of fruits and raw fruits where I don't know why I'm just not like keen on them. The only fruits I really like are like bananas, and bananas are like technically herbs or something, so they probably don't count. But the only real fruit I like, where like sort of say like the acidity and the juiciness and all that stuff like doesn't really seem to bother me, and I love them, are green Granny Smith apples. They are my absolute favorite.
They're so good.
And it's like, oh, good. Like, well, guess what? The magic fruit you need that's supposed to solve all your like mouth noise making problems is a Granny Smith, but they don't help me a bit. And it's like, I swear they don't. Like, just people say they help like a tiny bit, but like 1 second late, like it's like, okay, this line better be like less than. Because it's such a temporary thing for me. Like I've got such a like clicky mouth and stuff, and I drink loads of water and stuff, and it's all just like such temporary stuff. And so I was just like, yes, Granny Smith apples, they're like the magic cure. And it's like, yeah, they help you for like 2 seconds, like with your mouth. And it's just the cruelest like twist of fate.
Yeah. We got the question. What do you think is an underrated musical / play?
I'm not big on like musicals and plays and stuff. I know I'm like English, so I should be like, oh, I love Shakespeare. I love Shakespeare. But
no, you shouldn't. Shakespeare's a hack. I don't like Shakespeare.
I'm too stupid to understand Shakespeare. So, but
actually, I don't hate Shakespeare. I hate the people that think they know Shakespeare.
People who are like pretentious.
People who
about
are
it
very
and stuff.
pretentious about it.
Yeah.
That's ruined Shakespeare for me, especially because I'm like, Romeo and Juliet is about a 35-year-old falling in love with a 14-year-old within 2 seconds, and it's a 3-day relationship. It's basically MTV for the Renaissance. Why the fuck are you calling it a fucking romance when it literally says in the show it's a tragedy? The fuck? That's like my biggest pet peeve about anything with Shakespeare. Also, Shakespeare was considered very lowbrow at the time that it came out. Shakespeare was what poor people would watch, guys. Shakespeare literally was MTV for the Renaissance. But people are like, oh no, it's so high class now, and I'm like, no, you're ruining it. This is why it's not fun anymore. Shakespeare is literally written to make fun of the upper class people.
There's actually a in the UK. There's actually like an sort of island called Jersey, and I'm just called Jersey, and I'm just picturing the like Shakespeare like actually like had an OG Jersey Shore.
Yeah. Yo, Juliet.
So anyway, but to but to actually kind of answer the question a little bit, I did go and see. I don't know what, like my parents randomly went to see Jersey Boys one time. And speaking of Jersey, that's the thing. I didn't even mean to, but like when I was saying this, I legit didn't mean to like loop around like that. But they went and saw Jersey Boys, and they were like to me and my older brother, they're like, "Oh, boys, we absolutely loved it. It's amazing. We'll have to take you like in the summer or something like that." So we like got tickets and whatever. And it was very like going on any kind of like trip or anything with my parents is like always very stressful. Like me and my brother, but so and like going to London, and my brother has like been around the world, and it's like he knows how. He's not gonna like get run over crossing the street in London. He's like been in like Thailand and India and China and all these places. Like he knows how to cross the street. Don't worry. But like anyway, so it was like very stressful. But then we saw Jersey Boys, and it really is an amazing show that has like such amazing and catchy songs that to this day I still just kind of randomly think of and like sing to myself and stuff like that. And it's such, but I'm not sure. So, and I know it's kind of like a big, like a lot of people have like heard of Jersey Boys kind of thing, and it's got like the red suits and stuff like that. But I'm actually not sure how many people would have seen it or whatever. Like, and it's just, it was really good. And I don't know how, I'm not sure if necessarily a whole load of people would have strictly enjoyed, like, things like, I don't know, like Book of Mormon. I'd expect more people to like know like the Book of Mormon or like just been like, oh yeah, I've seen that, than like Jersey Boys. So in that sense, like Jersey Boys would be like underrated or underknown or something like that. If that makes sense, and if that's a viable answer, because I don't have many.
Answer.
I don't have many other options if that's not.
So we also got the question: if you were in the world of Genshin, what vision would you have?
I don't know enough about Genshin to know visions.
Yeah, that's right. So there's ice, water, fire.
The sort of the element.
Yeah, the element thing.
Oh, well then I think it probably would be ice. It was funny. I don't know if you saw this. Like, KG did a question on Twitter the other day about like if you could just kind of summon either of these two things, like anywhere, anytime, no kind of there's no like restriction on it or anything like that, but just fire or ice. What would it be? And I did go with ice because I felt like fire was kind of like a destructive thing. Like, yeah, it could like cook you things and could like destroy things or whatever, but like I felt like ice could be like more useful and more fun and stuff like that because you could like build. Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm fire. Like, first of all, I'm a redhead. Second of all, my personality. Third of all, fucking fire.
So, but I picked ice because I was like, well, again, because I one of the cool things about like whenever I see like Iceman in like X-Men cartoons and comics and stuff like that, I love how he kind of like uses it to like transport himself, how he'll kind of like create these like ice paths that he like just slides around on kind of thing. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I even remember in like the Pokemon anime when like Ash goes to the Orange Islands and he gets his like first Orange Island badge, and he's against like the lady with the Blastoise, and he's on his Lapras, and he wins by like creating the ice path that they like slide down and stuff.
See,
like
that's
that.
also a thing, is that if I was in Pokemon, I would definitely be a fire/psychic trainer.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So did
definitely
you
be fire first?
So did you quite like Delphox in Generation 6?
So
that's, like,
here's the thing. Love Finnegan. Every evolution of Finnegan is I just don't like the design, and that's really sad because I love foxes. But that being said, my favorite Pokemon is Vulpix.
Oh,
and
nice.
I do love now that they have a Vulpix that's fire and a Vulpix that's ice, because my favorite color is teal because I couldn't pick between blue or green. And you know, the ice Vulpix is very blue, and I love blue. But yeah, as far as like element though, I'm definitely fire.
No, I think out of those, I probably say you said fire, ice, and what was the other one?
There's like fire, ice, electro, geo, water. Is that it? Air. Oh, animo. Air.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think out of those, I probably would say ice. I'm not just for the clicks and the likes and the Chongyun. I genuinely think that probably would be mine. Out of those.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I was able to answer a sort of like Genshin gameplay oriented question. I was like, good, because again, I sort of know about like the my character and stuff like that, but
so then here's the next question: are you familiar with like the weapons a little bit? Like, are you kind of familiar?
No, because the other thing as well is just it's not that I don't want to know these things. It's just I don't want to know like everything before I go into it.
Right,
I mean,
I want to kind of see it with a fresh set of eyes.
Maybe someday, maybe I will just learn all these things or whatever ahead of it. But like right now, I'm just still kind of holding out hope that I'll get to play it soon and that I'll kind of get to have that experience, like figuring a few things out for myself, kind of thing.
Yeah, I totally get that. Well, then I don't want to ruin that for you. And then last thing before we actually end the stream, can you give us a rundown of like the roles that you've played, like the biggest ones, maybe top 5?
Yeah.
Obviously, Chongyun's one of them.
Chongyun's definitely the like the biggest and the one I get the most comments on and stuff like that. But this will be fun. So yeah, there's Chongyun and Genshin Impact. And then for anyone who has seen the very lovely and gorgeous anime movie Children of the Sea,
yes,
it's on Netflix.
So good. Go watch it.
Oh, you've seen it?
It's so good. Go watch it.
Okay. I'm Onglade in that movie.
Yeah.
So that's he's sort of a very long-haired, kind of dreamy dude with big eyes, and that was so much fun to play. I had a nice tweet about that this morning. Actually, someone tweeted me about the movie.
Well then, all 400, 500 of you, go watch it. What is it on again?
So it's on Net.
On Netflix.
In the US, it's on Netflix. It's out on like DVD, Blu-ray, and digital in the USA, and it recently came out on like DVD and Blu-ray in the UK. So maybe it's also available like in Europe as well, if like you're in Europe or anything like that. It's quite early in the morning in Europe at the minute, but yeah, and it was nice because it meant my parents could watch it recently.
Aww,
so they like bought it and they watched it and stuff like that, and I was a bit worried because anime can be weird. Let's face it.
Anime can be weird.
So I was a bit like,
I'm lucky that I worked as a child. I don't think anything will beat me being a little girl who thought they were Jesus that proceeds to get crucified on a light-up cross.
Came up with an awesome
okay.
Yep, this was part of a show called The Pillow Man. So, written by Martin McDonough, who's one of my favorite playwrights of all time.
Oh, I love him.
He's amazing.
I get confused because there's like the McDonough brothers.
Yeah.
And they're both really good.
They're both good.
But like there's the one who did like 3 Billboards and 7 Psychopaths.
Yes, his best movie is 7 Psychopaths.
And In Bruges, which is fantastic as well. They're so funny.
And his plays are all amazing.
But then there's the okay, so if that's that one, but then there's the other one who also did one. I can't remember what it's actually called now. I feel like might have the word green in or something like that. But it's with Brendan Gleeson and Don Cheadle, and it's just really funny.
I know what you're talking about.
But he's like a policeman and stuff, and like Don Cheadle is like an American. I think he might be like an FBI or something type guy who like, but he like has to go to Ireland to kind of stop some criminal, and like Brendan Gleeson's the like local Irish cop who he's kind of paired up with, and it's very funny. And again, if you like those other movies, it's like, oh well, good, like that dude's brother wrote this one, and so they're fantastic. Yeah.
Yep, they're fucking fantastic. But yeah, I played a little girl who thought she was Jesus that was crucified on a light up cross on stage. And so I'm like, my parents watched me do that. I think they can handle anime.
Oh, that's great.
And funny enough, I did that show when I was 16, and of course there's a lot of dark stuff in that show, because if you don't know anything about Martin McDonagh, he writes really dark comedies. And I remember
dark comedy, yeah,
very dark. And I remember like when I was invited to be in the show, I didn't have like a really like an actual audition. I'd already worked with the theater beforehand, and they gave me the script and said, "So we want you to be in this, but we're gonna have you read it first, so you can decide if you want to be in it, because there's a lot in it." And I read it, and I was like, "This is a comedy?"
See, funny. I will actually like. I will answer with like. I will answer with 3 other roles in a second, but I just want to talk about like comedy and dark comedy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think the reason why me and like my big brother enjoyed like those movies and like both of their work so much and stuff, like again like the sort of dark comedy and stuff, again the kind of like growing up in the disabled family thing, you kind of need to develop a dark sense of humor,
comedy, otherwise everything's sad, and it's just
I'm able to laugh at like very dark.
I mean, I like
it's kind of,
same thing.
You kind of have to learn to be able to make jokes out of these things that if you actually stopped and thought about them for too long are too sad.
Dude, like me and my brother are the worst people to be around, because we will laugh at the worst things and make everybody uncomfortable. Like, well, and especially because Connor is flat out said, "Well, you're gonna die in like a year, so whatever." And then I've laughed at that, and then everybody else is like, "Oh my god."
No, that's great. That's right. Again, like yes, like sorry for you, but that is funny. Yeah.
No, it's hilarious. Okay, so it's called The Pillow Man. Please go just read it, because I basically was like, no, I have to be in this show because I have to figure out how this is a comedy. And then of course it was hilarious, and I was like, this is the best show of all time. Anyways, more roles from you, please.
So there's Chongyun and Onglade. Trials of Mana, I play Heath and Sylphid, and that last Saturday. The thing is funny, like whilst we were doing the stream and stuff, that was the 1-year anniversary of it being released in America, and that was like my first console game. Wow. So that was like my first game on a console, which was really cool, and I really loved that. What else we got? And then I got to be in Miraculous Ladybug.
That's
which
right,
is really
you did.
cool.
I'm so jealous of you.
And
I love that show.
And basically I love getting to say that I was in that, because I get to say that I played Marta's mother's car, which is just one of my favorite sentences to say ever. But that's the thing. Like, so Faye's character Kagami, her mom like sort of drives around in this, or gets driven around by this like automatic car, and I got to be the like user
You got to be the user interface for that. Oh no, Beau, you cut out. Beau, no! Oh my god, did we lose Beau literally on the last one? Beau! Oh no. Beau, don't go away. I need you. He's still here, right? Yeah, he's still here. Hold on. Beau? I'm gonna try calling him back. Okay, hello? I see you're lit up, but I don't hear anything. Oh no! We got through the whole stream without too much of a problem. Fuck. Damn it. Boo! Aw. Well, that's kind of the end of my stream anyway. It was the last question. It sucks that I can't give him a proper send-off. But I will say, please go follow Beau Bridgland on Twitter. His Twitter is at BeauVO, BeauVO. That's his Twitter handle. Go follow him. He's an amazing voice actor. And I love him to pieces. And I can't wait until we're all vaccinated so we can see each other again, because I miss him. And I miss his roommates too, Kira and Casey. But thank you all for being here. Sorry that I'm a dumbass and I didn't have the hangout thing ready. But I promise we will reschedule, have Beau back on so that way you can actually talk through the hangout. I promise you. I will not fuck up next time. Okay? All right.
That's right.
La 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 la. There, that was Barbara's song as Toad. You're welcome. You're welcome,
I didn't realize
Internet.
I did that in